when the world shall listen, and when the world shall see, and when the world remembers, that world will cease to be.
As the world comes to an end, as has been foretold across time and cultures, before the next world emerges from the ash, the sky will open, and the plasma that surrounds us will drop down from above, changing the face of heaven, the land, and life as we know it. For more information about how this all works, please watch my Plasma Apocalypse video and the corresponding playlist. Today we're going to talk about and focus on what I call the plasma tentacles and what we can possibly expect when the plasma fingers or tentacles enter into our world. We're also going to address possible benefits of the plasma fingers. I'm probably going to call them interchange plasma fingers, plasma tentacles, same thing. So yeah, we'll address some possible benefits of the plasma fingers and some ways to avoid any harmful or unwanted effects from these things. So you're going to see right next to me the entire time we go through this video, there's going to be a slideshow. I'm going to actually pull up some specific pictures in a little while here. Okay, I just got to minimize one of my screens and then we'll jump right into it here. Okay, so first things first, plasma, tentacles, fingers, serpents, dragons. These things have been known and described in many, many different ways across time, okay? People saw things up in the sky that were ethereal, that were mythical, that were otherworldly, that were fantastic, and each one of them, due to their amazing creative abilities, described them and drew them in different ways and shapes and forms across time. And they continue to do that in all of our movies, in all of our TV shows, in every comic book, and all the different ways that they're portrayed. They continue to give these attributes to draw them out like that. For example, like dragons. Dragons didn't used to be drawn with 2 feet and 2 arms and 2 huge wings. And dragons never used to look like that. Originally, they looked more like worms, and they were actually known as the sky worms. They just spelled worm differently. But they were just these slow-moving, undulating lights in the sky, basically. Sometimes causing fires, which is where you get the fire-breathing dragon concept from. Anyhow, these things have been described across time all over the place. Petroglyphs have been drawn of these plasma tentacles in the sky, these plasma formations. And keep in mind, the tentacle parts, okay, just like in my plasma ball. If you look at this plasma ball right here, then... oh, wouldn't you know it? It's dead. I have to put some new batteries in this. Well, anyhow, if I had some batteries in this, the tentacle parts... oh, there it is right there. So see that? That would be like the tentacle parts, all right? See how it's blue towards the middle there? So we'd be looking at this upside down because it's going to come down from above. And this is kind of what it would look like. I don't know if you know this, but... if this was just sort of ethereal on the inside and it didn't have that zapping connection to it, the plasma would still be whirling around in there. But the moment that my finger got close, see how it gets attracted to it? And it's drawn to me. It's attracted to me. And anyway, what happens is that the first thing that happens is a huge light basically starts to just appear out of nowhere from the middle of the plasma ball to wherever my finger is before I touch the plasma ball. So there's this huge light. It starts glowing and getting brighter and brighter. And it's, the ones I've seen are blue lights. And then as soon as I make that connection, that light turns into like this sort of bolt, right? Like a bolt of lightning or, things like that. So that's what we're talking about. Around our world is the plasma sphere, which academia accepts as being there. And that plasma on the outside of our world is allegedly very, very hot. And, that's something we want to keep out there. But one of these days, it's going to be let in, the sky's going to open, and the plasma is going to come into our world. That plasma, those tentacles of plasma, those plasma fingers coming down, which is, by the way, why fingers are, usually in like the horror movies, they'll have their fingers pointing at you or reaching out to get you. That's just subconscious effect of this cyclical cataclysm that we experience all of the time, from time to time. So it's just, that's why it's scary, the fingers coming downward at you. And it's portrayed in different ways. So anyhow, we've got the plasma tentacles, the fingers, the serpents, the dragons. Now keep in mind, my plasma ball right here, this goes relatively quickly. You see this, the speed? Now, I don't know if you can see it on this one, but at the very bottom, what happens is you've got, plasma is kind of like, a tree, or more accurately, a tree is more like plasma, okay, in their design, in their shape, as are you, as am I. Plasma usually has like a sort of trunk to it, and then it branches out, and then that branch grows its own branches, and those grow their own twigs. And I've found that plasma tends to be the exact same way. So what you can expect, let's go ahead and talk about this first. The plasma that is the highest up will be the strongest and most powerful, and probably the hottest, the most dangerous. Like the plasma that is closer to the center and the higher up you go, that'll be the thickest, the trunk of the plasma tree, so to speak. As the plasma comes down towards the ground, it will branch out and getting smaller and smaller. And we're going to talk about the smallest pieces that may actually interact with us a little bit later. But the interesting thing that I wanted to point out, I don't know if it's going to come back on, but whenever I turn it upside down, there's that main branch of plasma that hits the glass, and then right at the bottom where it branches out again, it's almost like it makes feet, and like it's almost like the plasma walks across the glass. It's really interesting. But try to imagine this. When the plasma comes down from the sky, it's going to be on a scale millions of times, I don't know, thousands of times bigger than my little plasma ball right here. And that's why the plasma inside my plasma ball seems to be going so quickly, because it's so small. It doesn't have very much distance to cover. But when you imagine, because we need to use our imaginations when talking about these types of things, right? That's a crucial part of balancing ourselves out, is returning to a creative and imaginative state. But if you imagine the plasma coming down and it's just huge, massive columns of plasma miles high up into the air, I imagine it's probably going to act a lot slower and more fluid and methodical and almost lifelike. I believe the reason that plasma seems so lifelike is because plasma is alive. It's sentient, just like all things are. Everything is alive, really. But I mean, plasma is, it's one of the most interesting things that I have ever studied in my life. Could possibly be one of the most important things that I've ever studied in my life. But for example, to drive the point home about how plasma is actually alive, just look at Ghostbusters, okay? We all know there's truth in the movies, there's truth in TV shows. As a matter of fact, that's all that there really is, I think, is truth. Any form of lie or manipulation or whatever, it's just taking the truth and knotting it up, But I think that's all there is. But I digress. Let's keep talking about the plasma. The plasma is basically sentient. So, for example, in Ghostbusters, you've got the ectoplasm. Plasm is short for plasma. That's what the ghosts are in Ghostbusters. They are plasma that's ecto, which means outside, meaning outside of the body, right? They're ghosts. They're plasma that's outside of the body. So think about that. When we think about plasma, that's the importance that mainstream media puts on it whenever they're putting it out in front of us in the form of sci-fi and fantasy and those types of things. All right, so plasma is sentient. Now, I talk a lot, and I'm going to continue talking about how fantasy and science fiction and, stories and all of this stuff, fairy tales, all of these things are true. Every single one of them is true. As a matter of fact, when I look at all of the movies, I might do this. I might do this on a future live stream. I might just pull up Netflix on the computer screen and we're just going to tell the story of life, the story of time, our cyclical story just by looking at the Netflix movies themselves. Okay, this movie, that's about this point in our history, this point on our timeline, you know, because it's all looped around. And that's all I see now. Every single story is the same grand story. It's the never-ending story that's just been retold and retold and retold. And all the different movies are just different perspectives of different characters at different points in that history of that story. And it's really actually kind of cool when you look at it like that. Anyhow, so we're going to talk about some fantasy creatures. We're actually going to talk about H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu. Everybody give a round of applause for Cthulhu. We're going to talk about Starro and Cthulhu first. Okay, we're going to get into a lot of stuff. We're going to get to Doctor Who, Bird Box, memory. We're going to talk about a lot of things. So let's get right into it. Cthulhu. Actually, let me bring up some images here of Cthulhu. All right, so here's Cthulhu right here. Cthulhu was designed, he was made up, allegedly, right, by H.P. Lovecraft in the 1920s era. And he wrote, you know, a lot of horror, kind of sci-fi horror stories and stuff. And Cthulhu was this god, basically. And its defining characteristics are really seen here, that he has these tentacles that just come right out of his face, basically. He's got these real tiny little kind of bat wings on his back, you know, but he's basically like, he takes up like half the sky. That's how huge he is, all right? And after Lovecraft had invented Cthulhu, his descriptions resonated so strongly with people that cults around the world actually started popping up and worshiping Cthulhu, who Lovecraft allegedly invented, right? Let's look at some of his defining characteristics. Basically, it's his face. That's the main thing, okay? He's got the tentacles that come off of his face, specifically around his mouth. He basically has a tentacle beard, okay? So if you look at Cthulhu, and the main part of him is this portion right here, he is the plasma in the sky, basically. That's Cthulhu, okay? I don't know how else to describe it, but if you look up in the sky, there's going to be an initial huge gaping hole where you'll be able to see up into the other side of our roof to our world, the ceiling to our world. And you're going to see some lights up there as well. So that's going to be the black hole sun, or the cyclops or whatnot. And around that, the plasma will be reaching in just like that. And, you know, because of our perspective, you're going to see it go in all these different ways. So people look up, they've called it Medusa, you know, they call it the black hole sun. They've called it many different things, the wheel in the sky, etc., and so on and so forth. But it's been personified or anthropomorphized. Thank you so much to one of my subscribers who helped me out with that word. Anthropomorphized, or turned into given person-like qualities or animal-like qualities, or both, right? Xenopomorphized, maybe. Anyhow, that's all it is. It's a cartoon version of the reality that we have collectively experienced and stored into our subconscious minds for forever, since the last time it happened, basically. This is a fact that we just know. This is something that just resonates within us. And that's why, as I'm going to show you, there are so many different examples of this personifying of this cataclysmic event. So let's go through and check out some more pictures of Cthulhu. I really want to take more time commenting on some of these pictures. This is really interesting. Now, Cthulhu doesn't have to actually be Cthulhu, okay? There are many Cthulhu-type characters and you know, animations and drawings. For example, this guy right here, he's from a video game that I play called Skyrim. And he is a Cthulhu type figure with all these multiple arms coming off of him and the defining tentacles coming off of the face. I know a lot of you are probably saying in the chat right now, Davy Jones, right? Davy Jones! Davy Jones, you know, that yes, Davy Jones, as they have him in Pirates of the Caribbean, he was done that way on purpose. He is a Cthulhu type character. But anyhow, this is the cult of the black sun, or the black hole sun, basically. A lot of people mistake that for Saturn. And I understand because I used to mistake it for Saturn as well. But the thing is, Saturn, the planet, and you know what I mean? They were named after this. Actually, I think all of them were probably named after this particular event, the plasma event. Let's see here. Here's just some more imagery. It's very easy to find a lot of Cthulhu symbolism on the internet, surprisingly enough, you know. You might be one of those people that's never even heard of Cthulhu. But, you know, if you're kind of nerdy like me and you're into D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, you know, Magic the Gathering, stuff like that, then you kind of pick up on these fictional, mythical, legendary creatures and whatnot. Now, the other thing is Cthulhu is said to live in the ocean, okay? So basically, according to the story, he goes down to the bottom of the ocean, somewhere out in the Pacific, and he's just kind of sleeping. Some of Cthulhu's followers, they have a saying basically that, you know, under the ocean, I'm paraphrasing, but under the ocean, Cthulhu dreams and he's waiting. Well, what's he waiting for? He's waiting to re-emerge. This is just like all of the kaiju stories, Godzilla, all the huge monsters that come up out of the ocean waters and whatnot. But the thing is, there are ocean waters above us. So Cthulhu is definitely the Kraken. However, he is the Kraken from above. Those tentacles that reach down in order to, you know, cause mayhem and destruction. Here's some more images of Cthulhu. I really like this one because this one is a lot closer to what I would expect the plasma apocalypse to look like. You know, very kind of ghostly, like tentacles and lights and whatnot coming down. Now think about this. All those people out there that have never heard of the plasma apocalypse, that's Lovecraft with his Cthulhu right behind him, which is very interesting, you know. Did Lovecraft create Cthulhu, or did Cthulhu create Lovecraft? I just thought of that. Anyway, something to ponder. But anyway, think about this. All those people who have never heard of the plasma apocalypse, you know, they don't know, they have no idea. So when all of this stuff happens, the sky, the sun turns off, the stars fall to the earth, the sky opens, the electromagnetics turn off, things start floating around in the air. All of a sudden, when the sky opens, the world is depressurized and everything that's floating starts moving towards the sky in the center. You know, all these plasma tentacles are slowly reaching down and kind of walking across the land, you know, and they're breaking up into smaller parts that are coming down, you know, at eye level to where we are on the ground. And there's all these crazy lights in the sky, probably not just plasma fingers, but a lot of electromagnetic phenomenon. So you may see huge, you know, like St. Elmo's fire in the sky all over the place. I'm willing to bet it's going to manifest in many more ways than simply plasma fingers and plasma tentacles, but that will probably be the defining characteristic. Now think about a person who has never even heard of this, and all this stuff happens. People are going to, well, they'll be freaked out, but a lot of people, when they see like the lights in the sky and stuff, my guess is that they're probably going to go, oh, pretty lights, you know, and they're going to go outside and they're going to go see what's happening, and they're going to go, you know, try to take their phones out if their phones even work. And, oh, by the way, here's the Ood from Doctor Who. The Ood are the exact same thing, and they're actually going to be, I'm going to be talking about them in a little while too, when we start talking about space brains. I know, right? But yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about space brains today. Actually, the space brain. Okay, could be one of many. But the Ood, look at them. They've got the tentacles coming right off of the face, and they're connected to this light, this tube that's an orb. And they have the red eyes, just like I always talk about, right? The red eyes, basically, I'm going to cut to the chase because I might forget to bring it up later. But, as a matter of fact, let me pull my notes up here. There we go. The red eyes are an indicator that that person has had the plasma basically go in and, you know, possess them in essence. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, you know. I'm not going to judge. But I am saying that's what I'm leaning towards as far as all the red eyes symbolism goes. When it's both eyes, okay? The one red eye is something completely different. That is the eye in the sky. The red eye in the sky, the pink eye in the sky, purple. You know, they're all going to be these very neon 80s kind of pinkish, purpley, neon kind of colors up in the sky, as well as some sherbet oranges and things like that. All right, let's skip forward here. But yeah, all those people are going to go outside. They're going to be like, oh, wow, look at the pretty lights. Let's see what's happening. But we're constantly warned, don't look at the lights, okay? Like, if you can see those huge plasma fingers, you know, those huge worm dragons or sky worms or whatever people want to call them, if you can see them, you probably need to go the other direction, not hang out and just check it out and, you know, try to take pictures or anything like that. Believe me, like go carve it on a rock like so many other people have, okay? That'll last a lot longer than your picture anyway. But that's the warning, you know, that's the warning to Lot's wife in the Bible. Like, hey, don't look back. If you see this stuff in the sky, you are too close to the action. Get away. Don't just check it out like it's fireworks. You know what I mean? This one's a little harder to see. This is Cthulhu as well. Oh, look at that. It almost looks like there's a person right there at the bottom getting sucked up into him. That's kind of funny. Okay, let's check out some more pictures here. After Cthulhu, we're going to talk about another comic book character who represents the plasma fingers. Here's another one of Cthulhu. Cthulhu again. As you can see, this is the imagery. It's exactly what it is. Now, this may be combined with the great beasts of old, or the sky whales. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go check out my sky whales video where I talk about the great beasts of old, which are those I call them phantazoids, or animals that will, you know, they're otherworldly animals or aliens, whatever you want to call them, that may fall into our world when our sky opens up. You know, they might leave their residence and kind of get sucked into ours, basically. And then we have a world that is actually full of monsters for a time. Not that they're bad or anything, you know, but that's how we depict them. We depict them as being monstrous. So perhaps, you know, Cthulhu is an amalgam or a combination of the monsters or the phantazoids that come down into our world, giving rise to the mist and the mist monsters and, you know, things like that, the kaiju of old, and a combination of the plasma tentacles, the plasma fingers, right? Let's see if some more pictures here. So here's another one, Cthulhu. This is a cool little painting someone did to make it look like a rock drawing or whatnot. Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot to talk about this. Now, Cthulhu actually has his own offspring. He's got the spawn of Cthulhu, okay? And I might have some more pictures of them. I don't know. That one will suffice. So Cthulhu has his own little mini Cthulhus, his little spawn, his children, in essence, right? I do that all the time. I'm sorry. But Cthulhu has his own children. They look exactly like little replicas of him. This is because our universe is really a fractal verse. Okay, everything is in fractals. So this plasmic event of the plasma tentacles that come down from the sky. Can we get in focus? Can we get in focus? The plasma that comes down from the sky, like I said, at the very top, that's the trunk of the tree. But then another tree sprouts out of that trunk called a branch, right? And another tree. These are the spawn of Cthulhu. Now, let me read something on the internet here about the spawn of Cthulhu. Let's see. Are we screen sharing? We kind of are. Anyway, I'm just gonna kind of read this. Oh, actually, first let me read this. This is from lovecraftianscience.wordpress.com. And it talks all about, it goes into, I mean, there are like some serious Cthulhu devotees out there, and they know all the scientific details like behind Cthulhu and all of the Lovecraftian ancient ones and gods of old and whatever, you know, monsters and stuff. But it says here on the website, as was previously proposed, it is hypothesized that Cthulhu and its spawn, by the way, it says its, right? I'm going to talk about the word it as well. It was hypothesized that Cthulhu and its spawn may be composed of an extra-dimensional form of plasma. A form of ionized gas, it says in parentheses. All right, let me get rid of that particular article. And so I found that to be really interesting, that they came right out and said, yeah, people hypothesized that Cthulhu's made out of plasma. Like, that's mind-blowing. Yes, I absolutely agree with you. Like, I would say that your Cthulhu is absolutely plasma. You know, that's what it is. Let's continue here. I wanted to... where did it go? Well, I can't find it, but I'll just paraphrase basically. In a nutshell, Cthulhu has certain powers, okay? And his children, his offspring, which is, you know, the little mini plasma hands coming down, the dream crabs, we'll talk about those in a bit. They have these powers that they typically like to go and attach to people and basically kind of possess them. Like it can manipulate the minds of the people down in the world, right? And in all these stories of all these different Cthulhu type beings, they love to go down and possess everyone in New York City. For some reason, it's always New York City. I'm sure it's more than that, but like every time in my studies, every city that gets attacked and with all this mind control tentacles symbolism is New York City every time. Let's see here. Let me see what else we have here. Oh, all right. So let's check out the rest of the pictures of Cthulhu, and then we're going to move on to Starro. And I'm going to pull up some Starro pictures. I like this picture of Cthulhu because it really accurately shows what's happening here. Let me just flip it around. So there you go. You got the plasma tentacles in the plasma sphere above us that are constantly up there, moving around. Huge tubes of plasma. They call them tubes. I call them tentacles, you know, because they're alive. But these huge plasma tubes above us that will one day enter into our world. And so, you know, somebody put this cool overlay of the tentacles with the map there. Let's see what else we have. Well, let's turn it right side up. You know, there's a lot of iconic symbolism with Cthulhu. Typically, it's just sort of represented as like this angry, mean-looking octopus face. And that's kind of because, you know, Cthulhu's a destroyer. He's the world destroyer. But, I mean, it's a double-edged sword because the world gets rebuilt again, okay? You know, so... every single religion, they all have these gods, you know, that are world destroyers, but they have this sort of alternate personality where they're also like the world creators and stuff like that. Let's see, here's some more Cthulhu ones. This one, he looks a little more like Alien, like in the Alien movies. Not sure what that one is. Oh, there we go. There it is. All right. So that's probably the image that came to a lot of your minds, and this is exactly why. That is Cthulhu cartoonified or personified. And usually, you know, they'll have the red eyes as well. This one, it kind of looks like somebody's getting sucked up into it right there. You see that? If you don't know what I mean about getting sucked up, check out my video about, you know, what happens whenever our world depressurizes and there's no gravity for, you know, for those of you who use the word gravity, or no electromagnetics at work, and whoosh, people get sucked up because they're floating around. By the way, while I just want to say thank you. I don't remember who put it out there. Feel free to leave me a comment so that I can thank you. But I want to say thanks for the FEMA commercial that you guys recommended that I check out. There's this FEMA commercial. I'll play it sometime for you. But there's like these people just start floating in their house and everything is just floating up into the air. And they're like, be prepared for cataclysm or whatever, you know? And these people are just floating in the air. It blew my mind. So thanks for pointing that out to me, by the way. Some more Cthulhu. Oh, this one. Let's talk about this real quick. Bird Box, okay? I know Bird Box was, it was really interesting for a lot of people, myself included. One of the things is we never see the Bird Box monsters. We don't know what they're running away from. But remember, like I said, we have been warned. Don't look into the lights, right? Stephen King's It, you know, like you don't, and we're going to talk about It. You don't want to look into the dead lights. They call them the dead lights, right? Now, please keep in mind and bear with me, have some patience, and hear out a few of my videos, you know, because I'm getting a lot of comments about this stuff. And I'm just asking for all of your patience as we work through these things together, okay? I'm doing a lot of research over here. So anyhow, we don't see the monster in Bird Box, but we do know that they're to blindfold themselves. They're not supposed to look at the monsters. Don't look at the monsters, you know? And typically that same type of warning follows in like adventure movies or sci-fi movies. They're like, don't look into his eyes, or you know what I mean? Don't look into the eye. Actually, it literally says that at Disneyland on the Indiana Jones ride. I remember. It's like right whenever you start the ride, you know, there's this huge statue and there's this like voiceover in the background like, don't look into the eye. Anyway, look at the Bird Box over here. Look at the pictures of the monsters that this guy's drawing. Definitely has Cthulhu right here, as you can see. Definitely has the one-eyed octopus, spider, starro. I mean, this thing takes so many different forms, but the two characteristics are the circle in the middle. That's the one eye symbolism. That's the all-seeing eye. That's all the eye symbolism right there. If it's one eye, that's what it is. One-eyed Willie, whatever one-eyed characters, that's what that is. And then it has to have the tentacles or the fingers coming off of it. So a lot of times it's drawn as an octopus or a squid or something with one giant eye in the middle. That is the plasma event. That is the plasma entering into our world, drawn in many different ways. But I thought it was really interesting that he draws these monsters and they all kind of look a little bit different, but he's got Cthulhu and he's got the plasma tentacles right there. Like I said, plasma can take on pretty much any shape, any form. It's a shapeshifter. It can do whatever it wants to do. It can take whatever form it would like to take. And so people draw it in different ways, you know? It's just like all the people putting their hands on the elephant, but they're blindfolded. So they envision a different animal based on what part of the elephant that they're touching, you know? All right, let's get rid of these Cthulhu pictures. We'll check out a couple more here. There's the underwater Cthulhu, like I was talking about. I think that was it. Okay, cool. So we're going to go to the next pictures, I believe are going to be Starro. Let me check my notes here. No. Actually, no, we're not. We're going to talk about dream crabs. And no, let's talk about Starro. Yeah, let's talk about Starro, then we'll talk about dream crabs. All right, let's pull up some pictures of Starro here. One moment. Got to find it. I've got a lot of files here. All right, Starro. Here we go. That should work. All right, what you see before you is Starro. This is one of the bad guys. Like I said, there's the eye in the middle, tentacles coming out, right? It's usually a red eye. That's your HAL 9000 symbolism, all that stuff. It's so funny. Anyhow, this is from the DC universe, okay? So I know a lot of you are probably Marvel fans out there, right? I like all of them because you know what? Whether it's Pixar theory, whether it's DC verse, Marvelverse, you know, all these different verses, they're all the same. They are all the same. They're all the retelling of the same old story, the same never-ending, reoccurring, cyclical story that's always happened from different perspectives, possibly from different places as well. We'll talk about that another time, though. Anyhow, this is Starro. So this is really interesting. As I was doing my tentacle plasma symbolism research and studies, right? Which is really fun. I get to search for stuff on the internet all day. That's fantastic, but absolutely related to reality. So it's great, and I love it. So here's Starro. Now, Starro, this kind of blew my mind. Let's go through some of these pictures here. Oh, that's obviously not Starro. Do I have it on the dream crabs? Ah, it's okay. We'll get to the dream crabs in a bit. Let's go back to Starro. Where'd it go? Hold on one second. I think... No, I've got it on the right one here. Let's see. Maybe I was going the wrong direction. Yeah, I was. Okay. Okay, so here's some more images of Starro. This one, I think this might actually be a preview from a live-action DC movie. I'm not sure. But anyhow, Starro is so bad. He's called Starro the Conqueror because he just goes from world to world out there in space, conquering these different worlds. Well, this is exactly what the plasma apocalypse does. It's the plasma that's outside there in space, out there, right? and at certain points whenever the polarities need to shift on the different worlds, which I believe probably happens in local worlds all at the same time. Starro, which is the plasma tentacles, see how it's purpley like that? And it's got the one eye in the middle there? Starro comes out and conquers and destroys that particular world. I'm going the wrong way here. So here's another one. Now, one of the things that Starro does, first of all, Starro is like the size of like continents, okay? He's huge. But he, just like Cthulhu, has his offspring. He has his little mini Starros that branch off of him, just like the plasma. You've got the plasma trunk that comes down. A lot of times, you know, plasma can be many different colors, but in our atmosphere, it seems like it's quite often blue, that main trunk, or that main light that appears before the trunk shows up. You know, the main bolt or whatnot. And then the blue sort of gets into like different colors as it goes down through different portions of our atmosphere. Okay. I'm guessing more of a pinkish purpley color a little towards the ends, right? Anyhow, Starro has his own little mini versions of himself. He shoots them out basically and sends them forth to attach to the faces of all the people in order to control their minds, right? Like it literally just attaches right to their face. Let me see if I have anything on the Wikipedia about this. Oh, I do. Okay, here, good. Okay, I'm gonna read some stuff about Starro for you guys. Let me see if I can put this on. Well, I'll go back to the live scene on the other one here, and I'm gonna go ahead and read about Starro. Now, if you want to follow along, I'm at Wikipedia. Just type in Starro, and it's really interesting because the first picture they have is a comic book cover. It's just like, it's like a starfish. What a ridiculous evil bad guy to have. You know what I mean? This tells me that there's something to this, you know? Don't worry about that. We'll talk about eating brains as well. Because that's actually really important when we talk about the space brain. Okay, so I digress. Yeah, yes, a big starfish? That's your intimidating, scary bad guy, you know? Like, that's ridiculous. And it's really interesting. Gosh, I wish I could show you the picture. Let me see if I have it. Let's go back to the other pictures here. I really want to show you the picture that I'm looking at. That one might do. Let's see. These are all pictures of Starro here. This is actually from a ride. Okay, I think this is in Australia. I can't remember. This is like one of the Universal parks. It's a DC ride. DC comic books. Okay. You know, Superman, Batman, all that type of stuff. And Starro is the main bad guy on the ride. You have to shoot him with your little gun, you know, and you get points for shooting all these people that have Starros, little mini Starros attached to their faces. See, there's an example of it right there. They're starfish. That's not intimidating. I don't know if you've ever seen a starfish, but they're very non-threatening, okay? So to make a starfish, basically, it's not a starfish, okay? It's a personification of the cataclysmic plasma event. That's why it's the ultimate bad guy that, you know, all the DC people will fight or whatnot. All right, that's some other stuff right there. We'll talk about that in a bit. But look at his eye. Do you see the eye? How it always has these sort of two circles in the middle? Well, can you see it on that one? Nah. You can't really see it on that one. But you see this one? It's got the red circle, and then it's got another red circle. You see that? On this one, you can see it pretty good. Red circle, and another red circle on the outside. Let me see. Does it do it there? There you go. Red circle. White circle, red circle. Isn't that interesting? Doesn't that remind you of something? Well, if you're a Marvel fan, it should remind you of Captain America's shield, right? Purposefully chosen to look like that. It's not like that because of America or anything, okay? It's like that because that's what you're going to see when you look up into the sky if you're in the right location and if you're at the right time. You'll basically look up and see Captain America's shield. Now, that's not what it really is, but, you know, that's what it looks like. So that's why they put it on there. So let's check out some more of these Starro imagery. Now, check this one out. Starro literally has a beam of purple plasma coming out of his eye, trying to hit poor Green Lantern over here, right? You've got all these different superheroes banding together. I mean, the only time the superheroes need to band together that much is if they're fighting, like, you know, something that can possibly end the world, basically. Now, Starro ends up taking over the minds of some of the superheroes as well. I really like this shot because, you know, you've got Starro placed directly above. You've got the little mini offspring or spawn of Starro starting to attach to people's faces, which, by the way, we're going to talk about that as well. Matter of fact, I'll talk about it right now. Like I said, you've got the tree effect, okay? Where you've got the trunk, the huge plasmic trunks that come down from the sky, but then they sort of split into their own, you know, 2 or 3 splits, maybe, you know? And that's where you get the tripods from War of the Worlds and stuff like that. That's all that is, just the plasma splitting down and basically walking around on our world, you know, just kind of feeling out and looking for things that it's attracted to. And it is looking for certain things, and we're going to talk about what it's looking for as well. Because this is not, and let me go to just throw this out there. Let me reassure many of you. There are things that we can do to make sure that, you know, we're not up for grabs, that we're safe, that everything's good. Okay? That's not a guarantee. And I will do a questions and answers once I get live streaming back. Okay? I can't do a questions and answers right now. So please hold your questions until I can actually answer them. I can't go through all the comments and answer all the comments. It's way too many. I answered 300 comments the other day, and it took me about 3 hours. So I can't answer all the questions right now. We'll do it in the live streams in the future. Anyway, this is Starro, and he sends down his little, you know, his little mini hands that branch off, right? So the main plasma comes down, that splits off, and then those ones split off, basically. And this can happen as many times as it would like to, you know, as many times as is needed to or whatnot. So it goes over the major cities. The huge beams, the huge trunks of plasma are attracted to the major cities first. That's why in all these alien takeover movies, all the aliens, they position their ships right over the major cities of the world, you know, as if it's strategically placing them for some global war of chess or something like that. That's not why, you know, it's got nothing to do with strategy or anything. It's just simply attracted to all of that energy that's happening in those major metropolitan areas, as well as these huge buildings that are shooting up out of the ground that have, you know, a lot of these places have obelisks and stuff like that. I'll just throw this out there. This is why we have obelisks, you know, I believe. It seems to me that we have obelisks because they are lightning conductors. The ancient people wanted to draw in that power and put it down into the ground. And a lot of times in front of the obelisks, you know, if it's a major obelisk or something, they'll have a huge pool of water, a rectangular pool of water out in front of the obelisk. And that's all electrical. It's a part of storing energy into a capacitor, basically. And I believe, and I assume, that they are going to be, you know, basically building these obelisks in order to get the plasma to attract to it and to harness the electricity into a capacitor underground in order to give them electricity while they live underground and wait out the apocalypse. So that's just one theory that I have about that. So Starro, Cthulhu, you know, whoever it may be, they appear over the major cities and then they start to branch down. Okay, you've got the main trunk, the main beam of light. That's like in Independence Day, that main UFO that hovers over, you know, New York City or whatever. And just, you see the blue light first. It just starts to get really blue, really light, you know. And then all of a sudden, once the connection is made, that light turns into, you know, more of a bolt. Here's another one of Starro here. Oh, so yeah, I wanted to talk about Starro's offspring that attached to people's faces. So they're able to control the minds of these people. And I believe that this is something that is going to happen. Your mind, collectively, our minds, okay, many people's minds, not everybody, all right, and I'm going to talk about that too. Many people's minds will be susceptible to these plasmic fingers, aka the dream crabs, aka the face huggers, if you're an Alien fan, okay? These things take many different forms, but they're just the smallest parts, the very tip of the plasmic tentacles in the sky, and they are coming down. They're little feelers. They're coming down, and they are also attracted to little centers of electromagnetic energy. electronic energy. And your brain is one of those centers for electromagnetic energy. It's a hub. This is a face hugger. They call them face huggers. From the movie Alien, right? They just spring out, wrap right around the face. And you'll see this concept in many different films and sci-fi and movie. This one's from Doctor Who. This is the actual face huggers. Now in Doctor Who, these alien life forms, face huggers, they attach to people's faces and they put them into a dreamlike state, which is exactly, if you read up on Starro's Spawn or Cthulhu's Spawn or any of these same types of cartoonified versions of the plasma apocalypse, you will find that every time there is this sort of, crab-like creature. Sometimes it's bug-like, sometimes it's octopus or squid-like or starfish or whatever. These mini armed creatures that attach to the face and basically start sucking on the brain, which puts the person into a dreamlike state, which they turn unconscious. They go into dream world, basically. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and hit the nail on the head and give you my theory on what I think this is. So, for example, this is not what they would look like, okay? So this is Hollywood version of this is a scary version of what they look like. In reality, they're probably very interesting looking and very beautiful. I would say that they're probably very beautiful creatures. But yeah, they definitely don't look like that. They're not, it's trying to make it look super scary, okay? But all it is just the plasma tentacles that come down, and they go around and they're looking for information, They're going to scan people, basically, because they need to upload information, and we have the information in our brains. I'm not sure if I'm skipping some subject matter here. Oh, this is another version, right? This is not Starro. This is not Cthulhu or anything. This is, I forgot this guy's name, something Gorath or something, but he's from Marvel. He's the Marvel equivalent, basically. Same thing, same powers. It's all psychic powers and whatnot. This is the same guy. I like this shot because it's looking up, as it should be, at the all-seeing eye, at the eye in the sky, with the tentacles coming directly down, picking people up into the air and, doing things like that. That's an accurate representation of reality, of the cyclical reality that befalls our world from time to time, when deemed necessary, when it is needed. This is an event that we're going to talk about why, and, the powers that be, and, the fact that they know that this happens, and I believe that they're trying to encourage it to happen. This is the God that they worship. This is what they want. They want the return of this entity up in the sky. So, well, I speculate at this point as to why, but, I think the most obvious reason is probably so that they can leave, because once the sky opens up, that's their opportunity to get out and to go up and out and back into heaven, quote unquote, right? So here's another one. Look, you've got Captain America here. You've got Doctor Strange. You've got all these superheroes all fighting this one octopus. Like, it's really just, these sea creatures are just terrible. They're not scary. They're not frightening. They don't look like they're very powerful. It can do very much. However, in the comic books and whatnot, they always give them incredible psychic powers, mental powers. And that gets back to why they're here. They're looking for something. This is a cleansing. I don't know how many people have researched plasmic cleansing, but plasma is a great cleanser. Hey, welcome, Miles. Welcome to my channel. People use plasma in order to super clean all kinds of things, and it's very effective. This is also the event that's biblically known, and in other religions, as harvest time. It's the time of the harvest. It's the time of the gathering up. Well, the gathering of what? Hold on, let me... So this is from a video game, but it's the same concept. Here's another one. I'll leave it on that one. Let me just check my notes real quick. Oh, that's right. So let's see. Let me go back to Bird Box. Okay, so the movie Bird Box, Sandra Bullock, her kids, everyone has to be blindfolded. They can't look at the bad guys, while this is all happening. It's post-apocalyptic. It's a huge stress. Don't look at the light. You know what I mean? Some people can. Don't get me wrong. Some people can look at the light and survive, like Moses. You know, biblically, the story of Moses, he looked at the burning bush, which is that burning bush that's, you know, that's not really on fire, right? And he survived. I mean, he grew some horns and some, you know, face turned all white and stuff, or hair turned white. But yeah, he survived. So yeah, it's possible you can check it out. It's possible you can look and survive. But I'm telling you, the simplicity behind that warning is if you can see it, you're too close to it. You want it to be as far away as possible because these things can split way up there in the atmosphere and essentially walk, you know, hundreds of miles an hour across the surface of our land. So the warning is don't look at it, don't hang out and, you know, try to stare at it or anything like that. Get away from it. Okay. That's sort of the warning. Now, please remember, this is all just my own speculation coming from my intuition and, you know, my own creativity and, balanced with my own research. So these are my ideas and I'm not starting a religion. I'm not telling people what to believe and I'm not telling you that I am absolutely right and I am not wrong at all. I could be wrong on some things. I could be wrong on everything. I could be right about everything, you know? So I've been getting some comments where people are kind of, you know, saying like, you're wrong or this is ridiculous or whatever. That's fine. Just go watch something else because this is my path, not your path. If you want to jump on my path for a moment and walk together with me, cool. I'll enjoy the company. Anyway. All right. So let's talk about Bird Box. Looking at the lights, the eyes, they say, are the window to the soul, right? So maybe these things might be able to sort of enter in through the eyes somehow, you know? I'm not sure. That's just a guess. I'm super speculating, you know, but it's possible that they might, maybe that's why they don't want you to look at them. Maybe. I lean more towards don't look at them because you need to get away from them. Don't hang out in the area. That's what I lean towards, okay? And I'll tell you why as well in a bit. How about birds falling from the sky in the movie Bird Box, right? Just like Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, all the birds of the world really kind of freak out. In the movie Bird Box, the birds are flying along and then all of a sudden they just start dropping out of the sky dead. Well, haven't we already seen that? Where all these birds just drop out of the sky in all these different cities around the world, you know, birds just fall out of the sky totally dead as if they just ran into something. Maybe they did. Maybe there is a plasmic current in the air. And because the birds can basically, in essence, see the electromagnetic current in the air, you know, what if the plasma turned around and there was some sort of plasmic current that just smacked them all unconscious and they fell down to the ground, hit the ground and died? You know what I mean? Because there is a lot of plasma in the air. There's plasma all around us. We don't see it because it hasn't got to the point where it has like, charged up and manifested basically. You know, this is my plasma ball. There's plasma in there, but you can't see it until I turn on the charge and charge it basically, which I need to put a battery in here. Okay. So yeah, that might explain the bird, you know, thing where the birds are falling out of the air. And I believe they're falling out of the air more and more because the plasma in the air is charging more and more and more and getting stronger and stronger and stronger and probably acting a little erratic as well. Not so predictable, which I believe is also the reason that, you know, fish and birds, they can all change direction. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's because they have like a hive mind, but more like they can just basically see those electromagnetic currents and they just follow them, you know? Possibly. Anyway, let's see here. Oh, we're talking about Bird Box and the symbolism that Bird Box has to the plasma catastrophe, okay? The tentacles of plasma, the fingers of plasma that seep in through the hole that will be opened up in our dome or in our sky or our roof, whatever you'd like to call it. And the plasma fingers come down looking and searching for people. And basically they're searching for information, okay? And we're going to get to that in just a bit. But right now I want to talk about the Bird Box symbolism. Let's see here. Birds falling from sky monsters. So they have the monsters, A Quiet Place. I'm sorry, I don't know what I meant by A Quiet Place. Oh, there's a movie called A Quiet Place. That's right. Okay. So the movie A Quiet Place is pretty much the same exact thing, right? I don't know if it's about the plasma fingers, but I think that A Quiet Place is probably more about the phantazoids, those those otherworldly animals that fall into our world, and they are said to be basically indestructible, just like the tardigrade is said to be just indestructible. Tardigrade is the microscopic, the phantazoid version is the macroscopic that falls down into our world, and all of a sudden it's something completely different. It's no longer an innocent little space whale or water bear or anything. Now it's a huge kaiju monster, you know what I mean? With indestructible skin and, you know, very alien and scary looking or whatnot. Let's see here. Oh, the Demogorgon, same thing. The Demogorgon, you know, there's a reason why they have like the face all open up like that. Like that is an attribute of like parasites and worms and stuff like that. Just like those phantazoids that probably will fall into our world and give us sandworms and great beasts of old and all that stuff, you know. It's going to be a movie-like fantasy sci-fi kind of a world, as it is. I mean, we just can't see it right now. The Demogorgon, oh, the Cloverfield monster, right? Same thing. Cloverfield monster comes up out of the ocean. He's stumbling around, you know, but I digress. Let's get back to the tentacles. Let's see here. Some other movies that might actually have a very strong connection. Well, they do have a strong connection. The Happening is one of those connections, okay? Where all these people, they get mind controlled. Right? They don't know why. They don't know what's happening. They don't know. You can't see any kind of monster. And see, that's the other thing too, is maybe some of this plasma, all the plasma's connected. Okay. So it doesn't necessarily have to just reach out in an electrified form and latch onto your face or anything. There's plasma everywhere, right? So it can have its subtle influence all over the place. So perhaps in the movie, The Happening, which if you didn't see, basically the wind blows and the people basically want to kill themselves. They all want to commit suicide, which is what exactly it says will happen in the Bible in the end times, that men will seek death and they will not find it. This will be at a time whenever one of the trumpet blasts blows and some huge thing falls out of the sky. Okay, let me rewind. I should probably do a video on this, but the trumpet blast is the sounds we've been hearing in the sky. Okay, that is the ice dome that is breaking apart and thinning. And you can Google this. I talked about it in one of my other videos. It makes that sound. Glaciers. Google glacier sounds, and you'll hear that weird, creepy sky sound in a glacier because the glacier is breaking apart and thinning out. It makes those same eerie, ghostly Tyrannosaurus kind of, Godzilla sounds, basically. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm just checking my notes real quick. Oh, that's right. So there's The Happening, oh, that's right. So in the Bible, you've got the trumpet. The trumpet blows. That's the sky sounds we've been hearing. That's the roof of our world. That's the highest, hardest glass ceiling that is thinning out because it's made of ice and it is starting to crack. And one of these days it will break open right in the middle where all the pressure will be released and our world will be depressurized. Okay. And biblically speaking, that is the trumpets. Those are the trumpets that are being blown by the angels of God. What happens is one of these trumpets blows, which is the ice cracking, basically. All of a sudden, some huge object falls down from the sky, which is coming down from above where the dome is, right? And it lands in the ocean, and all of these it awakens this sort of beast in the ocean. Does this sound familiar? Like I said, it's the same story over and over and over. The Cthulhu, the beast that's sleeping in the ocean, waiting to be awakened, etc. Godzilla, same thing. And anyhow, that's whenever the locusts of the book of Revelation come out. But they're not locusts. They just calls them locusts, okay? Just like it calls certain monsters cattle. They're not cattle. They're beasts. They're monsters. You know what I mean? But this beast comes up from the ocean, and it has all these little minions that it calls locusts. But they're more like, they're monsters. If you read the description, they're like part scorpion, part, and they make this weird sound and stuff. They're trying their hardest to describe whatever they are. But whatever they are comes out of the ocean, and they start tormenting mankind. And it says that people will try to kill themselves, but they won't be able to at that point in time. Now, why wouldn't they be able to? If they want to do something, but they can't do what they want to do, maybe that has something to do with these dream crabs or these face huggers that we've been seeing that control the mind of the people down here. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking and probably commenting, like, are they going to control everyone's mind? Is this something, how do we escape from this, etc.? Okay. No, first and foremost, let's talk about this. I don't think that they're going to control everybody's mind. Okay. Or if they do, not in a bad way, okay? I know many of you are like, I don't care. I don't want my mind controlled at all. Leave my mind alone. Well, I'm sorry, but a lot of us have some real bad stuff in here. And wouldn't it be great if it could get cleansed out? That all that bad stuff could just be taken right out? Basically, those memories. Like I said, this event is probably going to affect memory in a huge way. I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. Let me get back to my notes here. Oh, Minority Report. If you've ever seen the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise, there's a scene where there are these mechanical spider things that are going around searching for certain information, and they have to like scan the eye or jump onto the face of Tom Cruise in order to scan his eye to see if he's okay or if he's not okay. That's basically the same thing. That's basically what's happening. Okay. In short, although these things could happen to good people, I believe so far on my path at this point in time, I believe that these plasma fingers are looking for certain information. And I believe that that information is going to be coming from the bad people of the world, basically. So, I mean, I think this whole event is a cleansing process. Cleansing is getting rid of the bad stuff. You want to keep the good stuff and get rid of all the bad stuff. So that's why I can laugh about it. That's why I can smile. And that's why I can confidently talk about the end of the world, because I am confident that this is something that is geared toward the evil of the world, the things that we would call evil. Okay. That does not mean that I'm promising you safety, that you're going to be totally fine if you think you're a good person, because everybody thinks they're a good person for the most part. Everyone thinks they're okay. They're not too bad or whatever. And this is why I'm going to be stressing, cleaning out your closet on the inside. Don't be sorry about it, but clean out your closet, do some spring cleaning inside and up in here, change your vibes. You know what I mean? You have a vibrational field in and around you that other beings can see. Okay. We can't see it, but some humans can see it. So how much more do you think the plasma entity, the first state of matter, they can see it? I'm guessing. Okay. But I mean, if Superman has X-ray vision, and I'm assuming the plasma tentacles of Cthulhu can see your whole aura, you know what I mean? And make it like you almost light up. You would probably, if you're a bad guy, you would probably just light up like a little fluorescent light down here on the planet. And they're like, whoa, there's one. And they're just trying to go get the information, Anyway, let me get rid of this picture here. Same thing. The eye, boom, and the tentacles. The eye and the tentacles. That's the symbolism. And every single one of us that have seen Pan's Labyrinth, right? Which is the labyrinth is the world. Pan is the god of the air or whatnot. We all wondered what that was about. Like, why even put that in your movie? Like, you could have done anything. And I can't just chalk that up to just some guy just made it up and thought it would look crazy, Like, no. Even if some guy did make it up, what we think we are creating, what we think we are making up, we are actually recreating. And we are actually tapping into the plasma, the ether, the Akashic records, the ethereal library, whatever you want to call it. It's all there. So we're not really like inventing anything that is brand new. We're just reaching out and grabbing something that is already existing. And we talk about those things. All right. Anyhow, same thing with the aliens in The Simpsons, the one-eyed beings with the plasma tentacles. That's all they are. And they're constantly drooling because they're here to feast. Believe it. They're here to eat. That's what the plasma is here doing. It's not really here to hang out or whatnot. Now, I do have some theories as to what happens when our world seals up. What happens to the plasma that is in our world, that gets stuck in our world. I've got some interesting thoughts about that. But let me get back to my notes here real quick. So yeah, the Minority Report spiders that scan the eye. Oh, the movie The Thing as well. In The Thing, the Thing basically just always is kind of taking over people and branching out into these little branches. The branches represent the plasma, basically. That's what plasma does, okay? It's the Kraken. If you cut off one head, it'll grow two in its place. That's the plasma. Those are the plasma tentacles, etc. Same thing on the movie The Thing, if you've ever seen it. They have parts of the Thing like to go attach to people's faces and start kind of sucking on their brain, basically. And that's because they want to get the information. It's not because they're just evil monsters and they like to eat brains because monsters just like to eat brains. That's the reason why monsters like to eat brains. They're not eating it. They are digesting it. They're taking it in, just like you're digesting everything I'm saying right now, or, some people. Let's see here. Let's talk about loss of memory. Memory wipe. Memories will be wiped. Many people's memories will be all but completely wiped. Those of you who have your memory wiped, and I'm not trying to scare people. I'm so sorry. I'm just saying, like, if it sounds scary, I don't know how to help you except like to tell you, don't have fear. Live a full life. Live in confidence. You know what I mean? If you're interested in these things, prepare for them. Get yourself ready. Get yourself mentally ready. Get yourself spiritually ready and energetically ready, and do some spring cleaning and make sure, if anything happens to me, I'm confident because I did my best. I am a good person. I'm doing right or whatnot. So that's my best advice I can give to many of you. And we'll talk about that another time, but I don't want to digress too much here. Loss of memory. So basically this is where all of your movies about people who lose their memories come from. And I'm going to pull up a few of them real quick. I want to talk about these. Let me jump back to the live scene so we can have some stuff to look at in the background here. All right. So movies that reflect, remember, movies, they're just telling the same story, the same old story, the only story that exists. The only story that exists. It's the never-ending story. It's got beautiful, amazing, different chapters, wonderful and different perspectives and everything. But let me just name a few of these movies that are just different chapters of our story, of our history. 50 First Dates, right? The girl keeps forgetting every single day, and she has to re-meet, the love of her life time and time again. That happens here on Earth, okay? It's called reincarnation. Amnesiac. There's a lot of them. I'm just going to point out, some of the ones that I like. The butterfly effect. Oh man, that's such a good one. Okay. So not only does the butterfly effect have memory lapses and people with memory problems or whatever, but it also has, the guy that starts using his mental powers, his psychic powers that he gets, and his nose starts to bleed. That's another one. There's a such thing as psychic nosebleeds. People are exerting so much psychic force that pressure builds up and their nose starts to bleed, or sometimes their ears start to bleed. And when you see everyone's noses starting to bleed, that's a sign that those who are here and didn't get sucked up some of them will start to develop and inherit powers. Okay. That's the only cool way I can really put it. They are powers, superpowers. They are otherworldly powers and abilities that we used to have, that we have lost today, that are innate, that are basically our junk DNA that's just turned off in us right now. That will be reactivated whenever these things happen. Possibly. Okay. That's how I like to see it. And that's what sounds right to me. Let's see here. Let me get back to my notes here. Oh yeah, the butterfly effect. I love that movie. What else? Oh, Dark City, right? Obviously a movie about the memories being wiped every night, right? And this is what happens, right? This reflects the plasma apocalypse, because the first thing that happens is everyone experiences nighttime. It's nighttime for everybody because the lights turn off as the poles, and a lot of people are kind of like leaving comments about how I say pole shift because they have a different cosmology. It's fine. Use whatever words work in your mind, okay? Just glean from what I'm telling you, okay? Try real hard not to let certain words trigger you so that you can just put the information in the Rolodex and the library of your mind and allow it to be useful without, missing out on some information just because it was labeled with a particular word. You know what I mean? But I digress. Let's check out some more of these movies. Oh yeah, Dark City. So at nighttime, that's when all of our lights turn off. Okay, just like the song, I have a stories mode. If you watch my channel on your phone, go to the stories tab right by the community tab, and I do little short recordings all the time that I put on there. And I was listening to that song "Stand by Me," and it's like, I forgot how it goes, but it's like, when the night has come and the land is dark. That's the plasma apocalypse, when the night comes, okay? And the moon is the only light we'll see, because most likely, I think we'll probably be able to see the moon still and probably watch it as it breaks up in the sky, because that's, our apocalypse is also their apocalypse in our sister world. But he's like, when the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see, I won't cry. I won't cry. No, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. That's such a deep song. It's absolutely about the end of the world, and he's describing exactly how it happens. But the important part of that song is love. That's the key to all of this, okay? So if any of you out there, if you have any fear, if you have any worries, if you have any anxiety or stress about this whole plasma apocalypse and the end of the world, and you find yourself kind of frantically, mentally, running around with your head cut off, take a moment, calm down, breathe, try to smile, and realize that it's all about love. Like I said, I believe that these things are out there searching for information. I believe that the information has a lot to do, and I'll probably come back to this topic, but it has a lot to do with the computer mindset versus the emotional mindset, the loving mindset, I should say, selfless, right? There is the left-hand path and the right-hand path. The left-hand path is very computer-minded. The ends justify the means. There are laws, there are expectations, etc., and then there is the right-hand path, which is pure emotion, It's just pure, raw emotion. And in the middle there is that beautiful balance called love between the two, okay? And I believe that that's a huge part of this whole experiment, or this whole game, or this whole whatever this construct, this reality is. That's the whole point of it. Love is the entire point of it, okay? So we want to cleanse everything out. This is a cleansing that happens. It is a purging. Does that sound familiar? It is the purge. This is all the purge, okay? You purge out the bad guys. Now, I haven't seen the movie, and I'm assuming it's probably the opposite because we live in an upside down and opposite world, but it's basically the same concept. It's a cleansing process, okay? This is going to be a cleaning out. So if you're a loving being with high vibrations, you have a lot less to worry about than, the bad guys of the world. So let that encourage you, okay? Now, let me get back to the memory lapse. Oh, that's right, Dark City. So in the middle of the night in Dark City, they go and they basically erase everyone's minds and give them brand new identities. I believe that whenever this 7-day plasma apocalyptic cycle is over and done with, essentially you're going to have people kind of waking up with amnesia. They're not going to know who they are. They probably won't remember their own names. They will have vital, function. They'll have vital memories. They'll know how to breathe. They'll know how to do all the things that a baby does when a baby is born, okay? They'll know to use the bathroom. They'll know to, to not hurt themselves, and they'll know to eat because they'll feel hunger and things like that, right? But it basically just resets the brain. It is like an electromagnetic pulse on electronics, because your brain is electronic, okay? And it has the ability to basically take information away or reset the brain, just like you would reset a computer or your phone. And with that reset is a loss of information, on top of the possibility that the face huggers or the dream crabs, or, Starro's offspring or whatever, like this guy, they're uploading. That's what they're doing. They're taking all the brain information and they are uploading it. They're sending it right back up the chain. All right, because plasma can go in both ways at the same time. It's very interesting. But they're uploading information. They're going to go attack. I love doing this, but they're going to attach to people's faces, basically, and or their heads or their brains. It doesn't have to be, the face or whatever. But like I said, that's why you might not want to look at them or stare at them, because, if the eyes are the windows to the soul, you might want to keep your eyes shut or something, take some precautionary measures. Like I said, if you're a good person, you might not have anything to worry about at all. And if you have high vibrations and you're a loving person, there's a good chance that if you interact with the plasma itself, you will have a good experience. You may be given gifts. Things may be added to you instead of being taken away from you. But essentially, at the very least, and I do admit a part of me is biased. A part of me wants it to be all the bad people, realistically, it might not be. There might be some, what do they call it in war? When you shoot the same team or whatever, collateral damage, I think is the word, right? There could be some collateral damage. I don't know. I'm speculating, I'm guessing, and a lot of times I'm going with my feelings and my intuition. Okay, so this is what my feelings and intuition are telling me, as well as my research that I've been doing for hours and hours and hours on the internet and in my own books and everything. So anyhow, they cause an amnesic-like state for a lot of people. However, so this is good. This is good news. That means if there's any bad guys left, if their brains are wiped, if their memories are wiped, they're no longer really bad guys, right? Like they don't have all of those conditioning and teachings. Look at that, by the way. That's a neuron. Take a good look at that, because I believe that's something we might actually possibly be able to see once our light reverses and changes direction and goes up instead of coming down. You might be able to see neuron type looking stuff up there. But I digress. All right, let's get back to the memory lapse movies. Dark City, it's a beautiful one. People, well, you'll have to check it out. Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, that's another good one. Finding Nemo, of course. The Forgotten, I really like The Forgotten, because in the movie The Forgotten, the one woman, the mother, basically, she loses her kid. Her kid just disappears, okay? And she's like, oh my God, where's my kid? Everybody in the movie is like, what are you talking about? You don't have a kid. You've never had a kid. Like it's never happened in their mind. Think about that. And think about how that relates to the Mandela effect as well, okay? One lady in the movie The Forgotten knows beyond the shadow of a doubt, no, I did have a kid. And I don't care what the rest of the world says. I'm looking for my kid now because something's going on, right? It's a really good movie. Somebody gets sucked up into the sky. I love movies where people get sucked up in the sky. But anyhow, basically, the aliens were screwing around with everybody's memories. And when she woke up, she retained her memories. And the reason that she could retain her memories was because of her love for her daughter, right? Nobody else could remember. They didn't really love. There was no love there. But because of that bond, because of that love that she had for her daughter, she was able to retain those memories, right? The same thing after the plasma apocalypse. You're going to have a lot of people who kind of like not knowing how to even talk. They don't remember how to like form vocabulary. They don't remember their language. They don't remember words or anything, which is almost going to force them to use their new connection, their new telepathic powers. If they have them, right? If they don't, they might need some help, at which point in time they might get some. There might be helpers that, also come down in order to reteach people certain things. And I'll talk about that as well in a bit. All right, let's see here. I had to double check to make sure I was recording. Like I had a moment of panic, like, oh my God, I've been talking for like an hour. Am I still recording? Yes, I am. Good. Let's see here. Some more movie. The Hangover, The Eye Inside, Inception, The Island. Oh man, The Island's a good one. The Majestic, Maze Runner. Maze Runner is our story. This is the maze. Okay? This world is the maze. Okay? You need to get to the center of the maze. The microcosm of the world being the maze is that you are the maze as well. So that's the most important thing. Get to the center of the maze. You are the maze. The center of the maze is the heart. Love. Once again, right? It's not to escape this world and go into some other world or anything. That's physical. The invisible qualities are always first. They are the root of anything and everything that is physical, is the energetic world. Love belongs in the energetic world, okay? It is an unseen quality that you can clearly see its effects all over the place, right? That's the maze that you need to get to the center of. You need to get to the heart of the matter. I should say. Memento. That's another really great one, man. This guy wakes up, has amnesia, so he has to write himself all these notes all over the place because he can't remember what he did the day before. He has tattoos on his body so that he can remember the most serious stuff that he needs to remember. That is a part of our never-ending story. People wake up, they don't have an identity, they don't remember who they are or what they are or where they are. There's actually a movie called Identity, which is really good too. But yeah, in the movie Memento, he has to leave pictures for himself or notes, handwritten notes. There's another movie. I can't remember what it was, but it just came out and I think it's on Netflix. I want to say it's like Pandoria or something like that. Pandorica, something. But in this movie, Pandoria, these space people, they go into this cryogenic or hyperbolic or whatever sleep, right? So that they can just sleep and live for a long time while the ship is off, flying to some uncharted planet or something like that, right? Basically, these people wake up out of their little cryostasis or whatever it is, their sleep, and they have amnesia. It's one of the effects of what's happening, right? They can't remember. They had to leave pictures of their own family members, their own wives and stuff to remind them like, oh, like I'm connected to this person. Like they couldn't remember their name. They couldn't remember their job. And it was very telling. It's a part of the same age-old stories that happen and repeat cyclically all of the time. This is the only story that we are able to tell. And this is why Hollywood all seems to know stuff, right? Maybe there are some Hollywood people that know some of this. However, they can't help it. You can't help it. We can't help it. Whatever we think we're creating, whenever we're writing out movies, writing books, whether it be fantasy, sci-fi, whatever, all we can do is reinterpret the same things that are already there. The same cycle, the same story. It's a never-ending story. It's the wheel of life. It's the circle of time, or you know what I mean? Whatever people want to call it. It's all the same stuff. It's not that Hollywood, when you get a job in Hollywood, all of a sudden they have some hooded initiation and all the Hollywood people tell you all these deep secrets of everything. No, man, it's just the information has always been there. Anybody who attempts to use your creative mind taps into it. So, that's why all the most creative people seem to have all these esoteric songs and all this stuff because they're tapping into it the easiest. Basically, they're opening themselves up to it and they get the information. MIB, Men in Black, the flashy thingies. Right? Will Smith wants the flashy thingy that erases people's minds, and it's got a little red light on it. That's what that is. That's the red light from the sky that basically can erase people's minds. And I know a lot of people out there are like, wow, man. Like, how can you be so happy about talking about this subject? Like I said, it's because I have confidence in who I am and why I'm here and my role here. And you know what? Some people have given me great advice. Time and time again. One of those things is que sera, sera. What will be, will be. Or, I don't remember, who was it in the Beatles? He just sang the song, Let It Be. Let it be, let it be. What will be, will be. There is a purpose, there's a plan, there's a reason I'm here. And I'm good with that reason, you know what I mean? And I don't see myself like dying or anything, but hey, if I go out, what an awesome way to go out. That's how I've always wanted to go out, And some of you guys have left some really funny comments that I love because I know you're serious about it. Basically saying like, that's cool. Like I will meet the end of the world, take a shot or whatever. And, I'll gladly go out in style. And I applaud that, Other people out there, I don't know why I'm wearing these anyway. Other people out there are not so excited about it. And that's okay. That's a part of it, But if it's something that's going to scare you, I recommend trying real hard to fight that fear with love and confidence, okay? Because you don't want to have fear in when going into this. Yes, I know it's hard. It almost sounds like a contradiction. It almost sounds like an oxymoron. It sounds like a lot of really fearful, scary stuff that's going to happen. And that's a matter of perspective, It's all natural. It's all very beautiful whenever you look at it in the grand scheme of things. Let me get back to these movies. So the Men in Black have their flashy thingy. Mulholland Drive, Moon. Pandorum. They actually list that one. Passengers, Paycheck, Total Recall, obviously, right? 12 Monkeys. Oh man, that's a good one too. And if you look at the poster for 12 Monkeys, it's got the red eye symbolism. It has all of it right there. And plus the whole 12 monkey, you know, I don't know. The whole symbolism there kind of reflects the plasma apocalypse. Okay, Vanilla Sky, that's a good one too. All right, so let me get out of there. And we're going to move on to the next thing here. Okay, so let me read some stuff about Starro. Let's bring up some pictures. We're gonna go over Starro real quick, and then we're gonna move on to the next subject here. Okay, so I'm in Wikipedia right now. I'm gonna read to you some of the details of Starro, and I want you to correlate those details with that same plasma story that we've been talking about. Okay, Starro. Hold on, let me move some things around here. There we go. I'm just going to flip through pictures as I talk here. The character Starro debuted in The Brave and the Bold in a story titled Starro the Conqueror, which was also the first appearance of the Justice League of America. According to the editor, Julius Schwartz, the title Starro the Conqueror was inspired by the story Tyranno the Conqueror. Okay, let me skip to the good stuff here. The character Starro returned, in an alternate universe story in Captain Carrot and His Amazing Zoo Crew. Now, I'm going to paraphrase. I don't know if it's going to get into that story, but Superman basically leaves our world, goes to this alternate Earth where he can talk to animals, and the animals are concerned about their plasma event. So Superman is out there helping the animals to fight Starro, which is the plasma apocalypse. And when you first hear this, you just think, it's fantasy, you know, that's cartoon, it's fantasy, you know, like I was with you, Jay, until you started talking about talking animals, you know, Superman trying to protect talking animals, you know, that have their own superheroes and whatnot. But when you look into it, you realize animals do talk. All of them. They all communicate. We don't speak their language. However, whenever we lose our individual hundreds and hundreds of different languages that we have collected, and we return to a state of telepathic communication, now all of a sudden it's easy. Now all of a sudden, stuff that used to sound childish and ridiculous, like Superman saving a planet full of sentient animals that talk, seems feasible. Winnie the Pooh seems feasible. All these talking animals, you know what I mean? No, not Winnie the Pooh, like a stuffed animal, okay? Although, you know, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm talking about real, actual animals that walk around or fly around and swim around. All right, back to Starro. Let's see here. Where was I? Oh, that's right. All right, let me just find here. In post-Infinity Crisis, DC continuity, the character appeared in Rebels. This is just all his appearances. Okay, this is the good stuff right here. All right, so Starro. Boom. Starro is an intelligent alien life form resembling a giant starfish with a central eye and prehensile extremities. The entity visited Earth and empowered 3 starfish. Remember, like, Starro can break up into smaller versions of itself, basically. Empowered 3 starfish, the creatures wreaking havoc, exploding an atom bomb, and absorbing its energy, which is, by the way, what the plasma tentacles are going to be attracted to. They're going to be attracted to the most powerful sources of energy that they can find on the surface of our world, possibly below the surface of our world, right? So that's very feasible. Kidnapping scientists and absorbing their brain power and placing the residents of Happy Harbor and Rhode Island under mental control. Controlling them mentally. Now, I know a lot of, there's a lot of truthers out there, a lot of truth seekers, conspiracy theorists and stuff. Mind control is typically seen very bad. It's usually seen in a very bad light. But what if somebody's controlling the mind of a very bad person? for the better, and they control them so that they are no longer a bad person. So they stop doing bad things. Well, I know that gets into a moral debate at that point. I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate, trying to be fair on both sides, and try to see things from all sides. All right, so back to Starro. So Starro splits off into these smaller selves, and they attach to people, and they can control their minds, basically. Now, Starro was stopped by the heroes Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, and Wonder Woman. Starro was defeated by coating it with quicklime, which nullified the entity's ability. A segment of that Starro survived and regenerated into a complete creature, but was stopped by Aquaman before able to renew its plan of conquest. Starro eventually reappeared and forced humans to nurture it until it was able to assume its former proportions. Being able to asexually spawn, Starro created millions of miniature duplicate spores of itself, which attached to the faces of the entire population of New York and rendered them under his mental controls. Let me take a quick time out. Let's go back for a second. Starro eventually reappeared, right, after he was defeated. This is the plasma apocalypse. It will be defeated, right? The plasma tentacles will go away. Starro, Cthulhu, whatever you want to call it, will recede back into the waters above, at which point those waters will seal back up into ice, at which point, the plasma cannot get through the ice. It can't penetrate the ice. And keep that in mind, okay? So Starro eventually reappeared and forced humans to nurture it until it was able to assume its former proportions. What if that's what's happening right now? What if we are basically nurturing the energy above? What if all this negativity that's just been filling up our world, and remember, I believe that it is an enclosed world, which it is. It's a closed system. That's what even academia admits this, okay? So it's an enclosed system. It's a closed off world. If you keep filling that bubble, it's going to pop one of these days, right? Let's see. Let me pull up some more pictures here. I like that one. I like that one too. All right, let me read the rest of this article here. So basically it says that humans were nurturing Starro until it could get back to its former proportions. Well, what if we're basically sending all this bad energy up into the air, right? Until the time comes when we are basically calling it. The Illuminati, the leaders of the free world, all the bad people who seem to be in charge. What if that's the whole purpose? What if that's the whole point? They want to call the great beasts of old back. They want to call upon the Kraken. They want that thing to return because they want to get out. They can only get out whenever it returns. That's just, that's one of my theories that I have. Let's see here. Let's continue reading. Starro eventually... I read that part. So it breaks off into smaller spores of itself in order to control the minds of the people, right? And let me just stop real quick, all right? I do want to talk about mind control. I do want to talk about what you can do to protect yourself, okay? If you're worried about this, first and foremost, tinfoil hats. This is exactly where they come from, okay? And I was surprised to see how many people out there have made tinfoil hats along with myself. All right. There's a whole thousands and thousands of people that are very serious about making tinfoil hats, not because they're crazy, not because, alien mind reading or whatever. Sometimes because of that. But it's been scientifically proven. People have used the scientific method to prove tinfoil or aluminum foil wrapped around, covering the brain area, makes it a lot harder to read the thoughts or to put thoughts in or to receive energies or, whatever language you use. It makes it hard to get to the brain. It makes it hard to read those signals. Okay. So that's where the tinfoil hat comes from. That's why Magneto of the X-Men, who's all in the same universe, it's all the same verse or whatnot. That's why Magneto wears this special metal type of hat that he wears, a little covering that he wears, because he doesn't want Professor X to get into his mind and control him, basically, which is pretty smart, right? Now, I want you to think about this as well. We're talking about plasma and electromagnetics. So, if you don't want the plasma to be attracted to you, you don't want to just simply have a tinfoil hat with a big point on it, okay? That's not what I would recommend, because that will basically microwave your brain. That will probably not work in your favor. That's my assumption. That's my guess, okay? What I would recommend is take a hat, take whatever hat that you like that fits your skull pretty good, like how I have mine, right? Line your hat with the tinfoil, and then take electrical tape or rubber tape and, basically wrap up your hat, wrap up all the tinfoil so you still have the hat. The hat is insulated against electrical forces now, right? And that you still have the foil that's blocking out those frequencies on the inside of the hat. That's my recommendation. That's what I will probably be doing. Excuse me. I do want to admit I have made tinfoil hats in the past. And this is why I don't want this on my face. You know what I mean? Like, obviously not that physically, like, a tinfoil hat wouldn't protect you against actual physical face huggers or whatever. But it would protect you against electromagnetic forces, right? All right. Let's get back to Starro's story. I want to talk about some really interesting stuff here. Let's see here. So Starro breaks up. Oh, now, when Superman investigates a strange phenomenon causing the citizens of Metropolis to begin acting like apes. Think about that. This is all the plasma apocalypse. What part of the plasma apocalypse would people start acting like apes, right? This is all true. It's all the same story, just retold over and over and over. I don't think there's a such thing as fiction anymore. I'm not, except for reality. Reality is basically my fiction. You turn on the news, the local news or whatever, and they're telling you the way that it is. That's the way that it isn't. That is my fiction, okay? So fantasy is my reality. Reality is my fantasy. For now. So when Superman investigates a strange phenomenon causing the citizens of Metropolis, sorry, I'm losing my place here, to begin acting like apes, he is accidentally transported to an alternate universe and arrives on the parallel Earth called Earth C, meeting sentient and superpowered animals called Captain Carrot and his amazing zoo crew. I don't know if the animals would actually name themselves that type of stuff, but I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Superman aids the animal heroes to defeat Starro, who has established a base on Earth C, their universe's version of the planet Pluto. Superman then takes the defeated Starro back to his universe. Starro later convinces the Justice League Europe that it is dying and wishes to return to space. Aided by ex-Green Lantern Kilowog, Starro returns to his original ship, which once repaired is launched out of the Earth's atmosphere. Starro, however, betrays the Justice League when it programs the vessel to explode, freeing Starro from its body and releasing thousands of smaller spores versions all over Western Europe. Assuming control of thousands of humans, Starro seizes power with several members of the Justice League Europe opposing the alien. Starro is finally defeated when Justice League member Ice freezes the original creature. Now, this is usually how Starro, according to my research, is defeated. He is frozen. This is the plasma apocalypse. The only way that the Starro in the sky, or Cthulhu, or the plasma tentacles, or the ethereal worms, dragons, whatever people call them, the only way they will be defeated completely is when the dome of ice is sealed back up and the plasma goes, the monsters, whatever you want to call them, goes back behind the ice wall or the ice ceiling, the highest, hardest glass ceiling that keeps them out, right? So yeah, it's the ice. And that's how, Starro is basically defeated each time is by ice for the most part. Now check this out. I want to get into this. This is the last part about Starro that I'm probably going to read here. Referring to itself only as it. That's what Starro calls itself. it talks in third person. It says it, it will destroy you, but it's talking about itself. So I thought to myself, what an interesting pronoun that Starro would call itself it. Because obviously the first thing that came to my mind is Stephen King's It, right? Hold on, let me just finish reading here. Referring only to itself as it, a different version of Starro takes control of the Flash and the population of Blue Valley using spores, little tiny versions of itself. Although the JLA intended to intervene, that's Justice League America, they are advised against doing so by the Spectre, who is Hal Jordan, who reveals the aliens' intention is to capture and control the heroes and use them to form an army to conquer the galaxy. The JLA requests that the Spectre temporarily remove their powers, thus eliminating the potential threat that they pose, allowing them to distract the enemy while Batman disables it with extreme cold. You see that? Batman disables Starro with extreme cold. That's the ice above us, getting colder, sealing back up, right? Once the powers turn back on, basically. Or once the poles shift, however you'd like to see it. Let's see here. So Batman defeats Starro with extreme cold. This version returns and is revealed to be a scout for a huge version of the creature called Star Conqueror. See? It's fractal. It's the microcosm and the macrocosm. Covering the whole continent of Europe with its body, the entity physically enslaves the human race while they sleep. Dream of the Endless aids the JLA, with several members battling the entity in the dream world. Right? While another small team is attacking its physical form. Assisted by a homeless man resisting the entity's control, the heroes free mankind from the aliens' influence. Dream captures the Star Conqueror and stores the entity with his other keepsakes. So you've got this dream world, right? That's happening. People go to sleep. This whole Starro the Conqueror takes control, and they're trying to fight this dream world. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. Have a lot of you felt like you're kind of living in a bad dream? Like, you want somebody to wake you up because this is a little out of control, right? Okay, well, maybe that's something that we have going on here. And it's just like in Doctor Who, the dream crabs attach to people's faces, and then they basically give them a dream, right? They give them an alternative reality while they can continue doing whatever it is that they're doing. I mean, I would honestly, because I like to question myself as well as the authorities, okay, I ask myself, am I dreaming? Wait a minute. What if I am dreaming right now? And, I am JayDreamerZ, right? So that's kind of where that comes from. What if I'm dreaming right now? What if this is all like a bad dream? That's a dream that's just lost control. And I need to scream out like Tom Cruise in Vanilla Sky, tech support! I should probably do the face, right? Kind of, tech support! Because that's his deal. His face is kind of messed up. But yeah, same thing. Like, this is why the plasma creatures, the face huggers, the little Starospores, the offspring of Cthulhu, whatever, all these different versions of it, they want to get to this right here. The mind. The battle is for the mind. It's the brain. The information that's being stored up. This is the age-old question, like if you look at ancient Hinduism, like the real early writings, the earliest writings of the Vedas, right? Basically, you have Brahma. Brahma was like the ultimate God being, right? And there was nothing else outside of Brahma. And then Brahma basically decided that he wanted a companion. He wanted to experience something other than himself. So he split himself in half and then did not allow the split version to retain the memory that he is the original as well. So he created a mirror, basically, a mirror image. And he jumped into that mirror image in order to fully know himself and to experience, himself as an outsider, as a different person. And then that version split again. And then that version split again. It's all fractal. This is just the fractal verse that we live in, right? Okay, so let's see here. What else do we have? I'm sorry if I skip anything too. I'm still getting used to pre-recording all of this instead of the live streams where live stream I tend to come up with a lot of stuff spur of the moment. All right, so we've talked about a lot of stuff so far. We've talked about the plasma tentacles, the finger symbolism in all the horror movies. You know, it's probably Freddy Krueger. That's where all that comes from. The serpents in the sky, the dragons, their speed, and the speed that you could probably expect to see them moving at. Yes, absolutely. Electrical phenomenon and light can move instantly, very fast, but plasma can move very ghost-like, very slowly and very smooth, okay? We talked about Cthulhu and Starro. We talked about dream crabs and face huggers. We talked about the symbolism behind Bird Box and the Bird Box monsters. Silver Moon Healing just subscribed. Welcome, Silver Moon. We talked about the memory loss that is probably going to happen. I do want to say and remind many of you, some people will not have that much memory loss, if any at all. Okay? Some people, I mean, think about it. Nature is just not going to just let us be, you know, totally defenseless with no knowledge of how to like grow food or anything like that, because you're going to need to know how to grow food. This is right after the apocalypse. If you have no memory, it's not like you can just go to Walmart and get some food. Or, you know, it's not like a lot of food is going to be growing up out of the ground after all this destruction has happened. So there needs to be some people who have the memory. There needs to be some helpers or helper class that's going to stay around and help the people who have lost their memories and reteach them, you know, how to cultivate their world, how to better their world, how to garden, how to build, how to do different things. Does this sound a little bit familiar? To many of you, it is going to sound very familiar. All right, let's see here. We talked about memory loss, especially in the movies. Every single movie that has a memory loss theme to it is pretty much about this particular theme from a different perspective. It's just told in story form, that's all. Let's see, we've got... Oh, tinfoil hats. We talked about how to make your own tinfoil hat and insulate it. That way you don't have to worry about it attracting any electrical phenomena. We've got, and that goes for all your stuff. Any metal stuff that you feel like you're going to absolutely need, I would insulate it. I would keep it in a box, wrap that box in another box, and smash that box with a hammer. No, I'm just kidding. That's from a movie. And whoever guesses the movie is going to get kudos from me. But anyhow, I'm serious. You make a little Faraday cage. You know, you put your important metal stuff and you wrap it up in rubber, or you put it into something plastic or something that's not conductive or anything. And that way you can, you know, go bury those things in the ground and then go back and find your buried treasure later on. All right, so we've got memory loss in movies. Tinfoil hats. We talked about the reality behind that. By the way, tinfoil hats are actually really good to wear now. You know, like they could be in style. You guys don't even know what's underneath this right now. So don't be afraid of wearing a tinfoil hat. Okay. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, they're good to use in the world we live in right now. If you want to block out all that 5G stuff, microwaves, you know, all these different things, like, dude, I would definitely rock an insulated tinfoil hat, which I have. So that's just from me to you, you know? And not only that, but you'll definitely recognize a huge change as well. I don't know what's going on with my camera. Like, my face keeps turning red for some reason. I'm going to have to fix the camera here. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Aliens and monsters wanting our brains. This is the next thing we're going to talk about, and then we're going to take a quick break. Actually, I'm going to take a quick break because I'm pre-recording this. There's no need to make all of you wait. I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and finish everything up. We're about halfway through right now. All right, so aliens and monsters wanting our brains. Where does this come from? This is not just something that we thought of because we thought it would just be really, really scary. Because, you know, yes, I guess that's scary, but it's just as scary as them wanting to eat out my eyeballs or my tongue or my heart or my liver or whatever, you know what I mean? So why is there this reoccurring theme that the aliens and the monsters and bad guys want our brain? Well, we've really touched on this a few times already, right? Oh, let me just go back to the live scene here because I've got a lot of pictures. That way I can share these pictures with you guys. Now, this gets back to it. Remember how we talked about Starro and it refers to itself as it? You have Stephen King's It, who says, you know, basically if you look into the deadlights, that's when you'll float too, right? Which we all know, if you look into the deadlights and you're outside when all this happens, you will float too, right? It is also the brain or the antagonist in A Wrinkle in Time. There is a brain that is the bad guy, right? The brains are not usually the good guys for some reason, right? A lot of times they're bad. They are the bad guys, okay? And there's good reason for that, I believe. So you've got it, which is the brain figure in A Wrinkle in Time that lives out there in space. You have to use the Tesseract to like get out to it or whatnot. You've got the brain who is called It. You've got Stephen King's It. You've got Starro who calls itself It. These are all linked to the plasma phenomenon and the plasma tentacles in the sky, right? And like I said, the remedy is love. That's how in every single one of these movies, you know, like if there is true love between, you know, the guy and the girl or whatever who are experiencing all this, then typically they don't get killed. They don't make it, you know, they don't get sucked up in a spaceship and get abducted or anything, like, or they are on a spaceship, but the aliens, you know, they're merciful towards them because they, you know, the characters hold hands and the camera zooms in on the characters holding hands, or, you know, there's some sort of element of love, just like in A Wrinkle in Time. The thing that saved the girl from not being able to rescue her father from it, or this huge galactic brain, basically, it's a space brain, was love. Because it does not comprehend love. The brain is computerized. The brain is mechanical. You know, all of this stuff we see around us is electromagnetic. It's all very robotic. It's all very structured. It's all very mechanical. And it goes according to a sort of structure and system. But that system falls apart because it doesn't quite understand love, which is what the aliens in Dark City were also trying to figure out, you know, why this guy was able to resist their mental powers and their mental control over him, why he's able to all of a sudden gain these superpowers and manipulate the world around him. It's because of love. He had true love. He had somebody that truly loved him, which is very important, right? Sorry, I was checking out the big brain guys there. Super got distracted. But love is key. Love is crucial, okay? That's what this is all about, okay? That's why they're doing all their data farming, right? That's the harvest. The harvest is data farming. The harvest is, just like in the Matrix, you know, when you see, what do you call them? The Sentinels or whatever, who are these tentacle armed things with red eyes, the same thing. They're Cthulhu, they're whatever. They go around and they plug in a cable to like the brains of humans, you know, that's the Matrix. They use your brains, you know, your brains are very important, and it's your brains because your brains contain experience. Remember when I was talking about Brahma and, I was talking about Brahma and I said that Brahma split himself and then he split himself again. The whole point was to get to know himself all over again. He caused himself to forget so that he could get to know himself all over again. It wouldn't be any fun if he remembered who he was, right? So every time he splits, he remembers less and less and less. This is the veil of forgetfulness that goes over us, right? So all of this gathering of the information, it's not just, you know, the plasma tentacles, they really hate bad guys, so they're just going to take all the bad guys, or, you know, like they're really evil or anything. No, man. It's just, let's see, what did I put? I had a word for it here. Oh, it's data mining. It's harvesting information. It is the harvest. This is just like in the movie The Matrix. All the people have their brains whoosh, connected to the robots, right? Skyline. In the movie Skyline, you have the alien creatures, and once they suck everybody up, they take their brains. They suck the brains right out and they upload the brains. That's exactly what that is. It's the information. It's not just the organ of the brain. You know, let's not think so physical. It's about why the brain is important, because it contains experience. That's all. It's just the experience. It's experience, which translates into information, ones and zeros, right? But it doesn't contain love. You know what I mean? That's not a brain thing. That's a heart thing. So that's your other brain, right? They're looking in the wrong place, basically. Anyway, let's see. The Matrix, the movie Skyline, all the zombies, you know, the zombies that they want your brains, even though in the movies these days they don't care about brains. They're just flesh eating, whatever. But when I was a kid, the zombies wanted your brains, you know, or maybe that's a Mandela effect. I don't know. Could be. Starship Troopers, right? Those of you who remember Starship Troopers, all of the aliens looked like what I call phantazoids, or basically the microscopic insects that come into our world from the macroscopic. They're just giant insects, basically. They're just huge, giant animals. Huge. This is it right there. This is the brain bug in Starship Troopers. And he sucks out that dude's brain right there. He's taking in the information. That's the leader brain. I mean, that's the leader bug or whatever. It's the brain, okay? So these tentacles, they go back and they report to the brain. The brains of the operation, the central storage area, the world library. I mean, you could call it so many different things. The Akashic records. It's just collecting all this information so that it can make decisions, essentially. And that gets into like, you know, the homunculi theory and, you know, like, are we inside of the mind of something bigger and synapses and things like that, just like in Meet Dave here, right? All right, so yes, Starship Troopers has the brain bug, the library in Doctor Who. I don't know if you remember that episode, but basically this library is sort of sentient. And what it does is it saves everybody, right? It saves them. And the only way that a computer knows how to save people, right, to get them saved, is to save them, is to click on save and upload their consciousness, which is their information, right? Their knowledge, their experiences, their data, and upload it and save it and keep it saved into a central storage area, right? Which would be like a nucleus in the brain, right? The synapses exchange the information, which could be seen as the plasma apocalypse. You know, it's happening really fast. And the information goes from one synapse, I mean, not synapse, goes from one dendrite or axon, I think it's called, to the other dendrite, and that's connected to the neuron. Well, guess what a neuron looks like? I've showed you a few pictures of it, right? The neuron looks like a one-eyed being with all these tentacles flying out of it. So that's what the tentacles report back to. That's the it, okay? It's something that can't really be seen on this tiny microscopic level where we live now. We can see it when we look into our own microcosm, okay? That's what we're talking about, basically. But that's why I believe the plasma tentacles and the brain that they're attached to. This is the ood from Doctor Who. Remember I said that's the plasma tentacle symbolism? Well, guess what? Every single one of the ood from Doctor Who, they're all telepathically linked to a giant brain. No lie. In Doctor Who, they're all connected to a giant brain. That's who, and the brain can instantly control any of the ood telepathically. Like I said, it's the same story over and over and over and over again, okay? This is the galactic space brain or whatnot. By the way, I would love to get some help from some of you guys if you've made it this far into the video. I'm trying to study, I feel like there's more to the story with the whole milk symbolism. Milk in movies and the bad guys especially drinking milk, right? And I don't know, I've heard some theories and I feel like there's something missing. I feel like there's a little bit more to the story. So I did some research on the movie, on the word galactic, because, you know, some of you are asking me what does that stuff mean, right? Well, galaxy or galaga or galaxia is related to the root word gala, which means milk. Okay. Just like that's where we get the Milky Way. However, it's interesting because the Milky Way in its original language is called the Milky Circle or the Circle of Milks, which I find to be really interesting as well. But I would love to know what you guys' thoughts are on, you know, the milk symbolism and how it's directly related to evil and to the bad guys drinking the milk, you know? Yes, I know it's like they're still childlike or, you know, like they haven't matured, so they're still drinking milk. I get that. But I think there's a physical component to it, and maybe it has something to do with what is beyond our ice dome up there. So I digress. I'm going to go take a quick break. For you, it will be instantaneous. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm really sorry about that. I fixed the camera so my face isn't so blush red. That was weird. I'll probably fix a little bit more later on. But anyhow, I'm back from my break, and we're talking about the plasma apocalypse. basically we've got to the point about information gathering. We've talked about space brains and synapse theory. You know, I don't know. I'm kind of labeling things as we go because I've never really heard them before, so I have to create words to describe them, basically. And the whole point, right? The whole point of Brahma dividing himself up is to get to know himself again. When I say get to know, that means acquire information, right? Because he has pretended that he can't remember, basically, Brahma, right? This creator god in Hindu mythology. So anyhow, that's the whole point, is to just gather information. Well, love is not about gathering information, right? There's a process there. Gathering information is helpful, but love is completely selfless. Love is just giving away to everybody else. Meanwhile, it goes against the system that is just all give me. Like I need. Love is an anomaly, and it's a beautiful anomaly, and it is what saves, it is what protects, it is what helps, it is what abides and endures forever and always. Anyway, all right, let's move on now. Let's see, we talked about the brain, the space brains, the space brain references, the references in various things. Oh, also, I did talk about the library of Doctor Who. In addition, there is the movie or the show Westworld. So, spoiler alert, you know, if you don't want to know what happens in Westworld, turn it off. But basically, all of the robots who looked just like human beings, when their apocalypse came, they were all saved. They were all uploaded, basically, into another computer. They went into this other world. They went into this other place, and they were all saved from that. Same type of deal. It's sort of computer, hard drive, mainframe, space brain, whatever people want to call it, right? All right, let's keep going. The age-old question, why are we here, right? To experience. That's the whole purpose, is to gather information, good, bad, or otherwise. The anomalies are the loving ones of the world. The computer mentality versus love, right? The computer mentality and love. We see this all over the place. Robots in the movies and TV shows trying to be more human, trying to learn how to actually love one another. You know what I mean? What else do we have here? Aliens, this concept of aliens in the movies, typically they don't understand or have lost the ability to love. Some of these examples are in the movie The Forgotten, which I talked about earlier, right? It's all an experiment. They're trying to figure this anomaly out. They can't understand what this whole love thing is, you know? Somebody is giving away. They're supposed to be taking in, you know? There's the computer mentality versus the loving mentality. The aliens don't understand or have lost the ability to love. Some examples are The Forgotten, the movie Skyline, Beyond the Sky. That one's a really good one too, right? And Dark City. Those are just some examples. And by the way, I love reading in the comments when you guys add your examples, especially if they're movie examples or TV shows. I love that stuff. So, and oftentimes I'll use it as well. If I see it in the comments and I feel like it's good info, I'll put it out there. All right, let's move on. The helpers will probably return. Like I said, we've got a reset on the minds of the people. It's an EMP that's going off, and you have a hard drive up here. You have a computer that is up here. That is your brain. Collects all this information, stores all this knowledge, and there's a good chance that many people will have it wiped out. Okay? They will wake up with amnesia, not remembering who they are or where they come from or why the world looks all fiery and messed up and, you know, why there's all this trash everywhere, because it will be a cargo cult world. If you haven't looked it up on YouTube, please look up Cargo Cult World and check out that documentary. It's very good. And I believe that the Plasma Apocalypse perfectly explains why we have the Cargo Cult World. Okay, why we pick up the trash of those who came before us. Hey, that's the Ood brain I was telling you about, right? Excuse me, I'm sorry. All right, so we're going to need some sort of helpers to return, right? You can't just wake up in a post-apocalyptic world and expect to know how to farm or to, you know, how to purify water or how to do any of these things. So naturally, the survivors could use the help of other people. I call them the helpers, Now, morally speaking, are the helpers, do they end up turning bad, or do some of them break away and, they don't want to help anymore? Perhaps, that's another story though. Or that's another chapter, I should say. So the helpers return to reteach humanity how to survive. Those from other worlds, those who survive the mental download or the mental reset, the mind reset, right? So it could be us. It could be just us, the people who are already here, the people who survive, those bodhisattvas around the world, the people who are in it to the very bitter end, and they're just going to help out humanity, right? Or it could be other beings just like us from other places, from other worlds. Like, there are other worlds around our worlds. It's not planets, so to speak, but, that's a matter of perspective. That's just my perspective. We all know, for the most part, many people know, there are all kinds of other worlds out there with all kinds of other beings and entities, and they're all going through their own experiences, and they have their own unique setup in order to generate certain information so that that information can be harvested and collected and gathered at certain times. Each world has its own unique plot, you know what I mean? Its own focus. So I can only guess as to what this world's focus is right now, but it is possible to leave. It is possible to go to some of the other worlds, and it's also possible for them to come into ours. And it's very much possible that organizations, space organizations, know about this, and that, they are essentially sliders. They slide between worlds. They wait for the portal to open up. They go through the portal. They understand the outer workings of our fractal verse, just like Ant-Man going into the fractal verse, right? They have a better understanding than everybody on the planet, basically, of how that works and how to actually travel through the circuits of time, so to speak, or Doctor Who's wormhole, or, whatever it may be, in order to get to those other worlds where there are other beings that have other, ice domes in their worlds and stuff. And they know that they can enter into those worlds when their ice domes come down at the same time that ours does. They know how much they know what kind of a window they have before they are trapped outside of that world and have to go somewhere else, basically. Anyway, I digress. Let me get back to the notes here. So the helpers return, etc. So yeah, that could be, for me, that perfectly explains why the big secret. Everybody's like, why would NASA keep this a secret, etc. Well, I mean, yes, people like myself, we want to tell everybody, hey, the world's going to come to an end, There's always going to be the Noahs before the flood. There's always going to be the people who really care about all you guys, and we're going to be like, hey, the world is definitely going to be starting over. The reset is coming. It's going to happen. So let's get ready. Let's prepare for it, prepare yourself inside. And there's going to be a lot of naysayers and a lot of people who don't want to hear it. And and that's totally fine. That's totally fine. We do our part. You do your part. I digress. I'm sorry. So anyway, that could be the reason for the lie. Maybe NASA doesn't want to, maybe those government agencies don't want to deal with the mass hysteria. The more people that you get, the stupider people get, basically. It's what I found, When you have small groups of people, it's great. Just like the chat, right? Like if we had 5,000 people in the chat would be ridiculous. It would be full of, it would be horrible. But if we had 10 people in the chat, it would be so much better. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. Like when you have more people, you have more stupidity, basically. And things get more chaotic and stuff. And it's only because there's more division. There's more perceived division, right? So you can have a lot of people get together, and instead of getting stupider, they can actually unite and they can become stronger and smarter. But that's only if the veil of separation is pulled up, right? If people stop seeing themselves as different from one another, if people stop seeing themselves as separated from one another, instead they become unified and they see the oneness that exists in all of us, then they can work together as a team, and then they're stronger, right? Just like, Justice League America and all that stuff. Okay, let's keep going. We're gonna finish up here. All right, so Sliders. Sliders, Quantum Leap. That's an old TV show where this guy jumped from world to world or time to time, basically, and his whole goal was to help people out. He had to put right what once was wrong. It's a great show. Quantum Leap, Doctor Who. Doctor Who is going around saving different worlds, helping out where he can or whatnot. I'm not saying NASA is good. Okay, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you can't defend NASA. But the honest answer is we don't know exactly what's going on, or we have not known so far what's going on. So, our speculation that they're all evil because, why would only bad people keep secrets? And I know that's not just it, okay? Yes, there are bad people. I feel like I opened a can of worms. Yes, there are bad people. Yes, some people in NASA are probably bad. But there's always a good and there's always a bad. There's always a neutral, you know what I mean? So these are probably like the Federation from Star Trek, Can you imagine? The Federation has a rule. Their number one rule is don't interfere with other cultures if they're not advanced. If they don't know about traveling the stars and stuff, you're not allowed to tell them. That's something they have to come up with on their own. That's something they need to progress and advance on through their natural evolution. They have to grow to get there. They have to earn that, basically. We don't just go around with our information and say, hey, surprise, tribal people, and just scare the heck out of everybody. They don't know what's going on. So that's the rule. The Federation in Star Trek says, hey, man, the first order is you don't talk about the Federation. The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. So maybe that's for, maybe their intentions are good. Maybe that's the whole reason for the lies. So within that organization, there very well could be people who mean well. People who are good, genuine people, just like in Star Trek. But just like in Star Trek, within the Federation itself, you've got some bad apples, So I don't know. That's just what I'm saying. I don't like to just paint it all one color and be done with it. But I like to, weigh it out and try to be fair with it, right? So that's one possibility of why the whole secret or whatever, right? Could NASA possibly be the ultimate doomsday preppers? Because they do have rockets, okay? But they're not a war organization. And the rockets that they get into are for traveling. And when they get in there and they get dressed up to go underwater. Everybody knows this. Even children would say, it looks like they're wearing scuba diving gear, Oh, I want to look at this picture real quick. That's from Disney's Inside Out. Those other cities are sitting on synapses. They're sitting on the dendrites, the feet of the parts of the brain that transfer knowledge and information, basically. All right, so anyhow, NASA is probably the ultimate doomsday prepper because when this all happens, when the sky falls apart, when it opens up, if you look into the sky, you will probably see rockets from every country just shooting up into the sky, and people have been programmed to think that we are fighting the aliens. But that's not going to be happening. The aliens will be fought on the ground where the phantazoids or the otherworldly animals and beings that get sucked into our world will be gigantic and titanic and probably delirious and out of their element and hungry. So that's the alien fight that could happen on the ground. Okay. And probably not even right away. If we have psychic abilities, like I believe many people will, many of us will be able to make friends with those phantazoids, with those giant beasts of old. Maybe ride them around, maybe fly around on dragons like the old stories talk about, right? All right. So yes, they could be the ultimate doomsday preppers. They're going to be shooting their rockets up at that hole in the sky because that's the portal to get out. That's the time. That's the window for them to get out. Okay. This is actually a really good picture. I would highly recommend studying this and comparing it to those drawings that I've been drawing for you guys. All right. Moving forward. NASA, ultimate doomsday prepper. In short, it may be that the evil of the world will be sucked up or uploaded to the space brain of the macroverse. Okay? It wants all that information, right? Just like in the movie The Matrix, the agents, they could just plug themselves right into your average person or whatever. Those people who were not unplugged could not be touched by the agents. They couldn't be possessed. Okay? The agents could not possess the people who unplugged themselves from the Matrix. So my advice, if you would like it, is to unplug yourself from the Matrix so that you can't have the agents possess you and take control of your brain, of your mind. That's what they want. They are information gatherers. It's robotic. It is mechanical. It is data entry and data receiving. That's a Spider Queen, by the way. Spider Queen is also the symbolism for the plasma tentacles that come down from Galaxia. I totally forgot about that, but hey, we return to it. Galaxia is the female, right? If Gaia is the female earth goddess, right? Galaxia is the female, like, heavenly goddess or ethereal goddess or whatnot, right? And it's just giving feminine qualities and masculine qualities due to current, electromagnetic current. That's all. Let's see. What else do we have here? That's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it. Let me just double check and make sure. Let me see if there's any more pictures I wanted to share with you guys real quick before we wrap things up. Because I have a lot of pictures that I like to share and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Let's see here. Well, here's it. Let's go ahead and look at it real quick. I do want to share some of these it pictures. Oh, well, let's do that one. Oh, I have to go back to this other screen here. Now, all those pictures are absolutely relevant, you know, and it's going to be up to you guys to figure a lot of things out if you want to, okay? I'm going to discuss that here in just a minute before we go, because I'm getting a lot of questions and a lot of comments, which is great. So here's a Tron movie poster. It says, "A world inside the computer where man has never been, never before now." And it's got the blue light shooting down at him, which is exactly what you would expect to see right before you touch the plasma on the plasma ball. There's this light that's there. And then as it gets more and more of a charge, right, before it's grounded, right when it's grounded, psh, you'll see the bolt or whatnot. Oh, but anyway, the bottom is where I wanted to show you down here. Where'd it go? There we go. So check this bottom part out down here. Enter its world this summer. It. They specifically chose to say enter its world. That word it is describing that it in the sky, that huge, we don't know what it is, so we can only refer to it as it. You know what I mean? It's something that's so gigantic that it can't really be seen or described. It can only be experienced in part or something. You know what I mean? Or either that or people just don't know what it is, so they just say it. The other thing, look what they're standing on. Remember? The eye with the two rings around it? That's what they're standing on right there. Let's look at some more it symbolism real quick. So, A Wrinkle in Time. The bad guy was a brain, a space brain, who is represented by this guy right here with the red eyes. Like I said, the red eye, if you have two red eyes, that's an indicator that it's symbolic of those people being possessed, basically, by agents of the Matrix, okay? They are possessed by the plasma. They're having their mind wiped or controlled or whatnot, okay? And that's the two red eye symbolism. Let's see what else we have. Oh, of course, Stephen King's It, right? The master of horror, Stephen King's It. You see how they make a big deal about elongating his fingers? That's because of the plasma fingers. Super 8. Let's go ahead and put this one up a bit so we can see it. It arrives. See the bottom there? It arrives. And they've got the lights in the sky, especially that big long blue light that you're going to see over major cities. You know, it's going to start off like, it's just going to seem like light coming out of nowhere, okay? And it's going to be real kind of transparent at first, and then it's going to get stronger and stronger. The light's going to get brighter and brighter and brighter, and then pretty soon it's going to turn almost white before it goes, and there's going to be a huge discharge in that area, just like you see in Independence Day. Who is this? Oh, it's Starro. So this is from a comic book, right? And look how Starro talks. It will do this. See, he refers to himself as it. Do you feel me now, Titan? So he's talking to one of the Titans, the teen, I guess it's the Teen Titans, I don't know. But this is interesting because Starro is fighting the Titans. Well, in Greek mythology, you had the Titans of old that were defeated by the Hecatenaries, or the 100-armed being, and the Cyclops, or the Cycle Ops, the round eye in the sky. It's the same thing. That's how the Titans were taken down. And probably fried to a nice rocky crisp, being turned into stone. If I can speak openly. All right, let me see if there's any other pictures I'd like to share real quick. Brain symbolism. Let me go through this one real quick. All right. So here's some other pictures of brain symbolism that I could find on the internet. Specifically space brains. Look at this one. It's got the brain right there. It's got the one eye, and it's got the tentacles coming out for the person, right? So there's that. And then there's that. So then there's that. This is... I'm going to skip this one for now. This one needs a little bit more explanation, so we're going to skip that one. These are the eyes of a man possessed. Yeah, by freaking space crabs. Like the brain from planet Aros. You see that? How is a brain... Why do we associate the brain with evil? You know what I mean? Well, because it's pretty much kind of like, it's not love. Like, this is the brain we need to focus on. This is the heart. This is the heart for the body. This is the heart for the spirit and the soul. All right, let's get out of this one. All right, so over here, you're going to see some interesting correlations of the fractal verse that we live in. It's a fractal. Just like if you have a hologram, you cut off a piece of the hologram. That piece contains all the coding for the entire hologram. So over here, we've got human brain cells right here. We've got the universe, allegedly, right there. And we have the internet. They all look the exact same because it's fractal. It's a repeating pattern over and over and over. If you go up into the macrocosm where things get bigger and bigger and bigger, it's actually the same size as everything else. It's just, it seems like it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger because you're this small in comparison. Or you can go downwards into the microcosm where things seem like they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but they're really not. We'll talk about that some more another time. That's just another animation going into the neurons and the synapses of the brain. Now remember, I said these are the parts, okay? This empty space is actually called the synapse of the brain. This is where the information transfers between one area and another. So for example, here on the axon, you see how you've got the dip right there? Okay, there may be, like, hypothetically speaking, okay, I'm not saying this is the way that it is, but let's pretend for a moment. There may be a dome right here within that little area, and another one over here, and another one somewhere else, right? And all the information builds up and builds up and builds up until finally there's some sort of an event where the information is sucked out and released, and it goes and it travels into this other one over here. And this one, the dendrite, this will send the information to the neuron. And then the neuron has what is called an action potential, which means it takes all the information and then it makes a decision whether to do something or to not do something. You know, it sounds kind of like a conscience, right? Conscience. All right, let's move forward. That's just a synapse in the brain. As you can see, it looks very much similar to the octopus one-eyed look, right? Now, it's possible you might be able to actually see through these. This is just an artist rendition. But if you could see through it, you would see the eye in the middle, which would be its nucleus, right? Okay, so here's also, this is some imagery of the blood barrier that's in the brain. As you can see, you've got these things coming off the sides. This is Starro. See, Starro's right there. Boom. Cthulhu is right there. There's a bunch of them. We're going to skip this one for now. We'll talk about that another time. Oh, this is the brain. This is from the movie Skyline. So they sucked this dude's brain up and they kept it alive because they're using the brain. This is Inside Out. All these are synapses. That's a synapse, or at least one part of it, right? That's one end. That could be an axon or a dendrite in the picture that I just showed you guys. Let's go back to it. Okay, see how the shape of it? It comes up. If you just flip this around, let me flip it around for us, right? This is what it looks like. It looks like this. It almost looks like kind of like a, I don't know, like it has a stem and like a bulb. Just like on Horton Hears a Who, right? Horton picks up something that has this stem and a bulb in it, and he hears all these little mini worlds and stuff like that, right? Same thing. This is just a part of that. So let's go back to that other picture on Inside Out, and you can probably see what I'm talking about. It's that same type of look there on top. Same thing right here, okay? But this one's even more interesting because of this glia cell that goes around it, okay? This is possibly the same thing. So I'll tell you, I'll just give you guys, a hint. This thing right here that you see that goes around and protects this stuff on the inside, basically all these little mini worlds here, is, I believe, what this is, and this one, and this one, and also possibly this. That's the glia cell, the protecting thing that goes around it. Anyway, that's just some stuff I'm sharing with you guys there. Let's check out some more of these pictures. Oh, that's the Ood. I love the Ood, man. But yeah, the Oods are all telepathically linked to a gigantic brain out in space. And they're the tentacle faces, little Davy Joneses. Here's another picture of a neuron. Or, I mean, these go to a neuron. That's actually that's part of a neuron, I guess. This is called the presynaptic terminal. A terminal is just like in Harry Potter. A terminal, it's a place where all the information gathers together, or all the people gather together, or whatever, like a bus terminal or a train terminal. Same thing. That's where they all meet, right? So this is the presynaptic, which means this is where the information begins. This is the beginning of the information. These are all the scenarios that play out in order to develop information in the form of experience. When that information and when those situations play themselves out, then you have the release over here into the receptor, or the post-synaptic terminal. The synapse is the blank area in the middle where stuff is converted into electric format and passes from one physical form to the other, right? All right, anyway, enough of that. Physicists find evidence that the universe is a giant brain. Very interesting. Like I said, let's not think so small, right? It's not about the universe just being a giant brain. You've got a universe right here. If that's the case, and there's another universe inside of that one, and there's another universe inside of that one. It's all fractal. This is the Ood brain, like I was talking about. That's another one. You can see the people right there, right? And that's the big Ood brain. And actually, when somebody had hijacked the Ood brain, right, the Ood brain got basically really upset, and all the eyes of all the Ood turned blood red. Which, by the way, you might actually see people that have red eyes in the future. All right, so this is just a lot of brain symbolism. So we're gonna crack open something else. Oh wait, this is a good one. This is from Men in Black. So this is an example of a homunculi. A homunculi, a person inside of the mind of a giant, bigger person, right? So that's what this is, basically. Same thing with Meet Dave with Eddie Murphy. All these little creatures live inside of him. They help to make his decisions for him and what he does. Krang. Come on. You can't talk about evil brains without having Krang in there. That's from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just in case you don't know. Inner Space, also a great movie about that. All right, I feel like I'm kind of getting a little off topic, so let me get out of here. I like sharing all this stuff with you guys. Hey, by the way, my channel passed 40,000 subscribers. I'm pretty honored about that. I feel very honored, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. It's nice to know that people find my work valuable. All right. Let's see, we looked at Cthulhu. We looked at it. We're not going to look at the Kraken. It's pretty much the same picture over and over and over. Starro, we looked at the tentacle symbolism. I don't know if we covered all of those, but let's go ahead and check out tentacle symbolism real quick. All right, so we've got the claw. The claw chooses who will go and who will stay. That's what these little aliens that have these elven ears, okay, because they're elves basically. That's That's what they say. The claw chooses. It chooses. It makes a choice. It is looking for certain things. Okay. The plasma is not just randomly out there, just sparking around, you know, like just looking for metal to fry or whatnot. And that's the other thing too, you know, because a lot of people, and I can't wait for the questions and answers section, but a lot of people are talking to me. You know, people have alternative ideas, and that's great. I'm open to ideas. I'm open to hearing what you guys think about this stuff. So I'm not on here to debate any of this. Okay, I'm just sharing my ideas as I come up with them. I'm just sharing my own insight, my own research, and all of that. Okay, so a lot of people would see the plasma as just randomly, you know, like, and basically like, well, your chances are like rolling the dice. But when you look at plasma as an extension of yourself, which all things are, then you realize plasma is also sentient. Plasma is making the decisions. Plasma is searching for something. And we know that it's a harvest. We know that it's a cleansing process. So it's looking for the dirt. It's trying to get the dirt on everybody. Like, it's literally trying to get the dirt on you, you know? Your skeletons are going to come out of your closet one way or another. So it's best to just clean your closet out, right? But the claw chooses who will go and who will stay, because the claw is sentient. The claw is the plasma fingers, or are the plasma fingers. This is from Futurama. I totally forgot a lot about this, but you know, you guys are going to know. That's absolutely related to the plasma stuff. One eye, tentacles, etc. Oh, here's that picture I was looking for, right? You got the Justice League fighting a giant starfish. How not intimidating at all, right? Like, that's just not intimidating. Unless it's not a starfish. Unless it represents a truth. Just like each one of these little superheroes, they're not really individual superheroes. Each one of these represents a particular truth. That truth is up to us to figure out. But look at the eye. Like I said, it's Captain America's shield. That's what a lot of people are going to see when they look up into our sky. They're going to see these two rings right here. They're going to see a lot of the behind the scenes to our world, basically. This is from The Day After Tomorrow? No. What is it called? When the aliens invade. I forgot. Anyways, somebody in the chat, please help me out. I'm a little tired. All right, let's move on. I forgot this movie. These are the tripods from the, not The Day the Earth Stood Still. Somebody will get it in the chat. Tripod again, same thing. These are just the plasma tentacles. And they even put a little head on it with one eye. That's letting you know. This is language. This is a message being communicated. Our language, our letters that we have in all your languages out there, each one of your letters started off as a picture. When you take a picture and you put it next to another picture, you start developing context to convey a message. This is a picture. You've got plasma tentacles coming down with the one eye above it. And the one eye added to the plasma tentacles equals plasma apocalypse. You got another one of them here. And a lot of times you see these 3 red dots, and I wonder if there's going to be 3 openings in the sky. I don't know. I've had a lot of dreams about that, as have a lot of you, by the way. Many of you won't be surprised to hear that there are lots of people leaving comments on my channel telling me all about these extensive dreams they've had about the end of the world, about the plasma apocalypse. Many of you have had dreams about floating up into the sky or trying to fly, but not really being able to. And you're kind of just, you know, you're almost losing control and getting sucked up into the air or space or whatever. Hundreds of people are writing and letting me know, I have had this exact same dream. And in the Bible, that's one of the signs of the end times. It says that, you know, that your young men will dream dreams and your old men will see visions, or vice versa. I don't remember which one it is, but same thing here. The red eye, boom. The tentacles, boom, same thing. And it's even kind of robotic. A lot of times they make these tentacles, these alien creatures, robots, because like I said, it is the robot mind. It is just gathering information. It's the ends justify the means. It's not that they're evil, you know, it's just that they are just following orders. Like, that's all. They're just doing the thing that makes the most sense in order to get information, basically. In order to learn. We've seen that one. This is an interesting picture. I don't know what that's from. This is from The Mist, right? This is one of the mist monsters. Now, this particular mist monster also has these huge little tentacle things. So there is the tentacle skies, tentacle symbolism there. But it probably also represents one of the phantazoids, or, you know, space monsters, space animals, whatever you want to call them, up there in space that fall or get sucked into our world when our sky opens up. Thor Ragnarok, you've got this lady who represents creation and death at the same time, like so many other destructor gods. And she sort of has the green aurora borealis color with the, you can't really see it there, but she's got these tentacles that come up off of her head up here. So that's the same thing. There's a better picture. You can see the tentacles a lot better. Oh, you can't see it in this one. Ah, that's okay. Well, you guys know what it looks like. Anyway, let's move forward. Oh, yeah, Freddy Krueger. This is a really good picture, by the way. Like, this is the epitome of the plasma apocalypse being personified into human-like form, right? Like, the plasma fingers are going to reach out and grab you or get you or whatever. This is Stranger Things, same thing, right? By the way, there's a reason why they keep showing the arcade in Stranger Things, so I'll let you guys think about that one. But look that's just the plasma fingers. That looks like, you know, if somebody just put their hand right down. That's plasma fingers. That's the plasma coming down out of the sky. That's all that is. And it walks around just like that, like real slowly, you know what I mean? Like very fast. It can cover a lot of ground. Like Cthulhu and Starro, some of their abilities are teleportation. They can instantly go from one place to another. Well, if you look at a plasma ball and you look at the plasma, you know, if it's sort of walking on the glass, right? If it's kind of walking on the glass, sometimes it'll just disappear and then it'll like instantly show up over here. Teleportation, same thing. There's the arcade sign. And see, that's up in the sky, the red sky. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be a huge, real pretty, real beautiful red sky. These are all the starfish attached to people's faces, little Captain America thing in the middle. And we went over that. We talked about that. This is really small. I can't even read that. I'm sorry. But I've already read all of the whole article to you guys. So that's just from Starro, from Wikipedia. Isn't that blow your mind? It's a starfish. Like, nobody is afraid of a starfish. I mean, some people might be, but you know what I mean? There's got to be a lot more to this in order for that to work. And it feeds on the information that's already there in our subconscious. So the people don't go, this is stupid. This is ridiculous. The people go, oh, yeah, it's space starfish. Like, yeah, definitely. Like, that's a really cool bad guy. It's believable because it's true. This is the magnetosphere. Well, here's the Earth. Here's the sun. This is how they draw our world. This is today's cosmology that academia teaches us, right? This is the magnetosphere. It looks exactly like Spider-Man's logo because it is Spider-Man's logo. That's exactly what it is. This is the Spider Queen, okay, who lives above us and is responsible for creation and all this type of stuff. Speaking of the Spider Queen, I thought I had something I wanted to read about the Spider Queen. I don't right now, but there are many Native American legends about the Spider Queen, and I highly recommend checking them out because they're pretty interesting. But this is what this is. That's the spider symbolism right there. Spider-Man's costume is red and blue because of the electromagnetics involved. And his hair stands on end because of the electromagnetics involved. This is also the Spider Queen. Why are we looking at the Spider Queen? Oh, the tentacle symbolism. You know, it's just the legs. That's all it really is. Because it can look like, if it's kind of walking around our world, it's just going to look like huge, long legs kind of just walking from place to place. So that's another form that it takes. This is the Slender Man. I thought this was really interesting that they had him looking like this with no face, right? Because that circle in the sky, that's the face, okay? It doesn't have features. There's not going to be an eye and a mouth or anything like that. It's just going to be a circle in the sky. And because it's got all these tentacles coming off of it, it looks like it could be hair or, you know, Medusa's snakes or whatnot. But it's going to be faceless, basically. That's the faceless face that's in the sky. And they put all these tentacles coming off of the Slender Man here in the shadows. This is, this is how people used to draw dragons. Do you see any feet? Nope, no feet. Do you see any wings? Nope, no wings, because that's plasma. Plasma doesn't have wings, and it doesn't have feet, and it doesn't have arms. It's just kind of snake-like, you know what I mean? Know what I mean, Vern? Oh, this is from the Matrix, right? All of this symbolism is in the Matrix. And there's huge squiddy arms from the Sentinels, but they're actually made up of all these tiny little ones, right? Same thing as Starro, same thing as Cthulhu and all those people. And they can band together. See how they kind of get together? The plasma can do that as well. The plasma can have two separate plasma streams turn into one, just like it can have one turn into two. It can split very easily. This is just the Sentinel. This is the plasma symbolism from the Matrix with the red eyes and all of that. Same thing here. This is Quintessa. This is, the Transformer goddess. Another time it's female. See, a lot of times all of this is associated with creation. Not just destruction, but creation. And that's why it's usually given female attributes. This is one of the alien queens. Same thing with the tentacles coming out. This is where this comes from. That fire dragon symbolism is the plasma in the sky that causes fires in our world. They're shooting at it right there. That's the Starro Red. What else do we have here? I really like that picture. That's a pretty cool picture. But that's why, that's what that's all about. This one is from, I think it was called Live, Die, Repeat or something like that. Tom Cruise keeps living the same day over and over and over. And he has to figure out how to beat these things, which are basically tentacle monsters. And in order to do so, he has to beat the brain. He has to beat the brain of these monsters in the movie. It goes back to the same space brains. Or it. Here's another pretty cool one. It's a little drawing somebody did. The giant tentacle monsters. This one, which one is this? Oh, this is when, remember I said that in the DC universe, right? Batman and, Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman and all these people, they fight against Starro. And this is them freezing Starro. See? Up here, let me just go ahead and read it. Like, this is Starro being frozen up here. He says, "No, no, I will not allow it. I am still Starro. I was born to conquer. To conquer." And then over here it says, there's a gentle tinkle, ice crackles somewhere on a frozen lake. Let me just read what they say. "Do you think he's still alive?" "Alive, yes, but helpless. This time, let's make certain he stays that way. I wonder if there'd be much market for a frozen starfish on stock." Anyway, that was just a joke that they were doing there. But you see, the way that the plasma is defeated is by ice. And that's just the ice dome above us refreezing and cutting off, the body of the Hydra. Look at the Superman's outfit. I mean, not Superman. I'm getting tired. I'm sorry. Spider-Man's outfit. Look at that. The red and the blue. That's the polarity of the electromagnetic currents, right? And then we've got the whole spider thing here. That's the magnetosphere. And that's where he gets his powers, electromagnetism. That's the Hydra I just showed you guys. That's the Hecatenaries, aka Doctor Strange, beating Thanos. So that's the only way, that's the thing that's going to beat Thanos. Thanos is a Titan, okay? That's that one lady I was showing you. This is from a video game. So this makes its way into The Legend of Zelda. Same thing. They've got the tentacles on the bad guys. They're robot, like they almost are always robots, right? A lot of times they're robots because they have that robotic mindset. They are on a data mining mission. They want to collect information. Now this eye right here, even though it's blue right here, which are really the two main colors that are used symbolically. Blue for the blue sky that we have when the light's coming down, and red for the red sky that we have after the plasma apocalypse, and the sky is all red basically. So his eye is blue right now, but when he gets pissed off, the eye definitely turns plasma pinkish red. And it's just one eye, same thing. This is where all this celebrations come from. The dragons, the tentacles of plasma in the sky. Oh, there you go. So this is a good example of, they call this the Guardian, basically. Well, I don't know if his eye does turn red. It looks like it turns blue. I could be wrong about that. But he turns red, so. Oh, this is interesting. So those of you who are Legend of Zelda fans, if you like Link in the video game world, you're familiar with Ganon. Well, in this game, Breath of the Wild, Ganon takes the form of this kind of plasma entity. And as a matter of fact, his plasma wraps around Princess Zelda's castle. By the way, the whole princess being locked in a castle symbolism is important. I'll say that much. So I would love to know what your thoughts are. I would love to know what you guys think as far as why there's always a princess locked away in a castle. What does that represent? And I will give you a hint as to what I believe. I believe it's related to the Gnostic stories. I'll leave it at that. Anyway, do you see all the plasma that's going around this place? Look, the beast. When the beast regains its true power, this world will end. This is just being told to us like time and time and time again. Nobody should be surprised, and yet most people will be. But yeah, Ganon, he basically leaves all of this plasma stuff like all around the map there and stuff. It's pretty interesting. We might have come to the end. Oh! Why did I show this one? Oh, it's the same thing. It's like a tentacle monster. They're all banding together at the beginning to fight against it. This is the plasma coming down from the sky. I believe this is from the Prince of Egypt. When this is like the fire, the pillar of fire from God in the sky that protected the Hebrews. When the Red Sea waters were floating up into the sky, right? The water is floating up into the sky. We'll talk about that another time. So that was pretty much it. So let me get out of here. Let me go back to the live scene here. Whew. Okay, so I don't know how long we've been talking. I know I need to drink some water here. A lot of water. I believe that was it. I believe that that's all we had to talk about as far as the tentacles go. I do want to just throw out some last minute chat. Okay, I want to talk to you guys for a second. So, I wrote these things down I wanted to tell you. Please do not ask me questions about your local areas. I don't want to be rude or anything, but there are way too many areas in the world. I do not have the time to go and research, because people are like, well, what's going to happen to what's the apocalypse going to be like in Arizona, or what's the apocalypse going to be like in Connecticut or whatever? And like, my honest answer is I'm not sure. And I don't have the time to go look up everybody's own personal stuff. That's something that I would encourage all of you to go do. All the information that I'm sharing with you, this is all my research. It's because I am out there researching these things. And I'm happy to share my research with you, but I can't do research for you. You're going to have to look into things that you're interested in. I'm more than happy to be a guide and to guide you into a particular direction or whatnot, but I can't do all the research for everybody, okay? And I don't mean to be rude or anything, but there's just way too many people. I don't have time to do all that. I have researched my area, and I may give generalized information on a broader geographic spectrum. If you want specific information on where you live, start researching. That's my advice to you. Thank you for the FEMA commercial tip. Somebody had given me a tip about the FEMA commercial where everybody starts floating up into the air. Man, I love that. And I'll probably share that with everyone as well. I could be wrong about everything. I could be wrong about some things, or I could be wrong about nothing. Go with your intuition. Rely on your own research. I am just acting as a guide. I am not an instructor. I am not telling you all exactly what to do and promising, salvation. I'm not promising people are going to be protected or anything. I'm just acting as a guide. So take whatever resonates, take whatever you feel is valuable, take whatever you feel adds to your life, and go with that. You know what I mean? All right. I think that's it. I'm pretty sure I didn't skip anything. Let me just double check. Oh, I do want to throw this out there. I've been using the stories mode on my phone. So for those of you watching on a computer or a television, you might not have stories mode. But on the phone, you just go to like my main channel and you slide across to where it says stories, and I record short little clips. And the last one was a song that I had made up about Dormammu from the perspective of Doctor Strange. So it's pretty funny. If you like, you know, a break, you like a laugh, and you like some interesting stuff, I share a lot of that type of stuff using the stories mode. Sometimes I'll try to be funny or something, you know, I try to be. But a lot of times I'm actually sharing a lot of stuff. I might just hold my phone right up to the computer and, you know, record a song or record some symbolism that I see. And there's a lot of stuff in there right now. And some people have checked it out and some people have left comments. You can comment on them too. I don't respond to the comments in the story section, you know, unless I feel like I need to. But check it out because it might make you smile. Anyway, I believe that's all I had to share. I'm just double checking everything because sometimes I skip stuff. And then when I'm done, I'm like, I forgot to talk about whatever it was. All right, that might be it. Oh, that other one-eyed being's name is Shuma Gorath. And that's the Marvel Universe version of the Plasma Apocalypse, is Shuma Gorath. And it's definitely related to, like, you know, Doctor Strange. I would not be surprised to see these characters appear in, like, the final movies of, you know, the DC Universe, Marvel Universe, all this stuff. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Starro make an appearance before the actual apocalypse comes, where we manifest all of this stuff. We're manifesting this. This is all information that is coming about because it's the end of times. The information we start remembering because we're close. You know, the pendulum is starting to swing back the other way. We get the information back. We never lost it in the first place. You know, separation is an illusion. So you can't even be separated from your own memories, you know. It's just an illusion. Anyhow, let me get out of here. Oh, there's different examples of psychic nosebleeds. I have so much stuff pulled up on my computer right now. It's kind of funny. Oh, okay. So I'll share the song with you guys since you've hung in there with me for so long. But the song that I wrote goes, Hey Dormammu, I've come to bargain. We're in a time loop. So let's get started. You'll keep winning. I'll keep rewinding. Which makes you my prisoner ever binding. So yeah, anyway. Just a little song I wrote. It's pretty fun. I think that's it. I'm going to go. I will be doing a question and answer session with everybody the moment I'm allowed to live stream again. So if you have questions, try not to ask me questions in the comments section because it took me 3 hours to respond to like 300 comments the other day. And I really don't want to do that again. As much as I like talking to everybody. But if you have a question, write it down. Get ready for, you know, in I think maybe a couple months from now is whenever I get the live streaming back, maybe less. And, you know, we'll do a question and response session so that we can talk about all this stuff. I love you guys. I wish you the very best, very, 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 very just stellar, amazing, good vibrations. I really do. I'm still learning so much, so very much. Something that I'm working on right now is to just get rid of like any anger that I have, you know, being jaded about the world, being jaded about the system, because someone that I care very much about and that I trust gave me some good advice and said, you know, who is your anger affecting besides yourself? That's the only person it's affecting, you know? So I'm working out. I'm doing my own spring cleaning. I'm really ramping up, working on myself and trying to clean myself out and raise my vibrations and change so many things so that I can just be, you know, the person that I've always wanted to, the kid that I am, the innocence, regain my innocence inside. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I'm going to go. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the super chats, and thank you so much for all your support and for all your good vibes and positive energy and for contributing. And I encourage everybody, contribute in the comments section. Add information to this particular topic. Give examples. Do whatever you need to do to share as many things as we can. Because like I said, if we come together and we're unified in mind and we don't recognize division amongst each other, we can really advance rather quickly. I love you guys. I'm JayDreamerZ. Good vibes and goodbye.
And when the world shall listen, and when the world shall see, and when the world remembers, that world will cease to be.